allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the last minutes of the meeting. Did everybody get a chance to look over them?
Motion to approve.
Jim Vanderhorst makes a motion to approve. Miller seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Disapprove. Motion carried. Approval of the agenda. Is there anything that needs to be added? If anybody wants to add anything? I think this Lillian is deleted, correct?
Yeah, she called, or she.
And
called
Christina
early
was
this
going
morning
to come in and
to
speak, I
take
think,
it
right?
out.
Yep.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Jason Hasford deal. Other from that scale. I guess we can put that hold and unfinished business.
Oh, yeah. Josh, didn't you?
I think Josh got a chance to look at it, right?
Which one?
With Hasford.
Yeah, that has county road right away. Were you in there?
I was in there.
Yeah.
It's okay.
There's a county road, I can pull it up. You guys wanna talk about that right now?
No, we got, is there approval of the agenda is all good, or do you wanna add something anyway?
No, I'm fine with
Make a motion to approve the agenda as
is?
submitted. Yep.
Okay,
I'll second.
second by Gardner. All in favor?
Aye.
Disapprove. Motion carried. Old and unfinished business, if there's anything you guys wanna add, I'd like to include Hasford.
Yeah, it's good time.
Resolution.
Yeah, it was what, we were concerned about a even fish right away or something on Jake's Lake.
Well, he
Oh,
wanted to improve that one part of the road or whatever, right? We wanted to decide if there was county right of way on it to see if we have to give approval or if he can just do it, right? That was kind of the
Yeah,
main
right,
crux of it.
part, yeah.
And he looked into it, I was up in his office when we went through it, and talked to Jason at that time.
Yeah, there's 66 feet, so 33 feet on both sides of the road. Once it leaves the section line here, so it goes through here and all the way down to about right here, so a half mile before the end of it, it turns to 33 feet on the south side. They didn't get the north side of this part, but anyways, it's a county road right away that was signed back in the 40s, I think. But yeah, once it gets to about half mile before the end of the lake there, it's just 33 feet, but it's still.
It was the old Bill Fear place.
That one.
And I think Newsome owns that, right?
Newsome, yeah.
Dwayne. Yep. He was gonna talk to Dwayne. I don't know if he ever did or not, when he indicated that to you and I that day.
Oh, Dwayne just.
Yeah. And he has no problem, he said, I have no problem with it, I just wanna know where I should set the fence before I set it.
Yeah, right.
Cause I don't wanna move this fence again.
No, I don't blame him.
He put up an electric fence, he said, I didn't put up a permanent fence until everything is resolved. So I know where I can put up that permanent fence.
Was there a game and fish easement too?
Do I?
Not on those feet.
Yeah, little.
If there was a game and fish easement, that was one
Well,
of them.
there'd be a fish and wildlife one, but not in these quarters here that I looked for the,
And this is
Just
just
county
comes down
road,
where
right
the
away
fence
one?
line goes.
there wasn't, but
He did some work on that road.
He was
fixed
gonna,
the
he
culvert.
wanted to know if he could improve.
there's actually one right here. But it was after the road right away, so it says that you can still, you know, fix roads, maintain roads for existing easements, and since this was already existing. so
It said that in that
Wildlife
wildlife.
easement is, yeah.
Well, I think the other thing too was there any game and fish like lease on Jake's Lake? The reason why I say that is cause that kind of, you know, you take like the Braddock Dam, for example, that kind of makes that a little more of a public road than just a section line trail or something, because if the Game and Fish is listing it on like their state website and they have like a 99-year easement, then it's like a public access lake, so then even like closing a section line to it, you have a kind of an access issue to, you know, I mean, you'd wanna be cautious on closing access to something that's got game and fish
I would
access.
think it's on their website.
He doesn't wanna close it though, does he?
Well, I thought he wanted to
No, he
close one
wanted
on the east side or something though, didn't he, where there was, on the
I
other
think
side,
right-
that-
He wanted to build this up so we can connect to this section line.
Yeah, that's, he wanted to.
Just
Yes,
build
he
that
bought-
corner up by that lake area.
right, but like over in section 36 over there was my point, or down, like, wasn't there a section line like on that blue, didn't he wanna close one of those?
Put gates.
Oh, I think he wanted, didn't he wanna
Or-
close it when it came off the
Okay.
section line?
That was my only question with that, was just because if you have public access to a lake for hunting or fishing, then, you know,
Well, yeah.
Well, could he put a cattle crossing there?
I mean, the commissioners could, I mean, it's public easement, we could probably give them a permit to do that, we've done that, or, but yeah, if it's not public, then he can do what he wants with it, that's where the question always is, trying to decide if he needs permission to do those things or not, and who's liable for any risk, and, you know, and then restricting access to a public lake is another, you know, cause some of these lakes out there are private.
Yeah.
Just cause the neighbors got to fish them or nobody cared, doesn't mean you should just get access to them, you can close them off, but you take like the Braddock Dam, even if both owners on the side of that road wanted to close it, you'd probably have an issue with the game and fish and possibly the state, because that's a whole nother, you know, there's different easements other than just your county and private access, so even if we'd even give them permission, we'd probably get in trouble, like, it's just, you kinda have to clarify that easement scenario before you make decisions, that's why the question for that, so.
On section line like that, he ran this by me, he said, well, I've seen it, he said, where people put the fence right smack on the center of the section line, even though they don't own both sides of the right of way, and then they put a gate at an angle. He said, can they do that?
Well, yeah, you go out in the hills, south of my place, and,
They're like that, right?
yeah, right, they're all, it's
Right.
kind
It's
of,
impassable down there.
yeah, you can't get through them,
No.
you know.
Down at Decker.
Yeah.
Decker Mottos or whatever.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of places you get out by the river or any of these areas where there's, you know, where there's double fences that are 5 feet off the section line, I mean, just, yeah, I mean, you could start picking fights all day long.
All day
some of
long.
this stuff, but we didn't,
Yeah.
I mean, most of them guys can't even fence them section lines, let alone drive them, so that's where it's, you know, I mean.
Yeah, right, you can't even get a fence for it.
Right,
Yeah.
so I guess it's just each situation's kind of its own little thing as far as access and, I mean, if someone desires it, you can literally access any section line in the county, but does it make sense, that's the other, like, so, it's tough to say.
But they could drive down if they want, they could go with a piece of equipment and roll the fence.
You can
right
destroy
down.
it if
I'm
you want,
thinking
maybe it's technically public access, so yeah,
Well, yeah, I guess, you're right.
so.
Okay, but I don't know what to tell Jason, are you gonna talk to Jason?
I think we had it figured out when he was here.
What do we wanna do, and what do we
Because
wanna tell him?
he didn't ask when he was here about this section line. He was talking about
Right.
connecting here, cause this water's down, so then he can access this Volk land that he bought
Yep,
from here.
and he's got
He
all
was
kinds
talking
of,
about a culvert, I think somewhere
Yep.
around here, right?
yep,
That was
and rock, he talked about a bunch of rock that he's
Yeah.
gonna be hauling off, he said, I'm gonna pick him up anyhow. I'd be willing to haul him and build this up, if I'm granted the green light to do it. And he was gonna talk to Russ.
Question for Joe would be, let's say that he's building everything on public right of way. Do we have any responsibility to show him where that right of way is? Or are we just granting him permission, but he's still gotta, you know, cause like you take that, if it's only got 33 feet on one side, well, if he assumes there's 33 feet on the north side and starts building on someone's property, cause there
Yeah.
was an easement granted there, is that our fault or his, or how, I mean, how does that?
Well, I mean, if he's the one who's doing the work, he's gonna have to know where those boundary lines are, I guess.
Sure.
He'll have to talk to Dwayne Newsome, because there's not an easement there, what he's okay with right now.
I don't know
Well-
if it's been surveyed, I'm sure it's been surveyed at some time.
Alright, but I mean, that's where, like, I mean, we can give them as much information as we have, but do we have any responsibility to even, you know, to, you know?
Well, what,
Like, if there should be a survey done, is that his responsibility, is that ours, that's where, you know, cause if you grant him permission, is that just where our responsibility ends?
I got
I would
this,
think so,
Stuart.
but
You've dealt with this a lot.
doesn't mean
If
it's
there's
right.
not an, if there's not an easement of record, because we've talked about it before, even though there's not an easement of record,
Yeah,
by statute of the state, is there automatically, when this land was conveyed from the state to the public, that there's a 33-foot easement? Because I had that deal, you remember?
On the section line, I think it's state law, it's conveyed, right?
Right.
So the only,
So then, that would be 33 feet, even so on the north side also, correct?
It's not on the section line.
no, that's not on a section.
That's not a section.
No,
No, that
that's
section
kind
line, it comes off of it.
Okay,
kind of
okay,
They added
that's-
that right away.
okay.
See, and that's where, like, once you get off the section line and you get onto these quarter lines, that's where the confusion sometimes is.
Okay, I was confused, I was
There's-
wrong, okay.
Yeah, like the actual, rectangular survey system, basically, when they adopted that the entire perimeter of the section is public access. Everything inside of it, easement needs to be secured, otherwise it's private.
The north side, going north on the west side, would be
So that-
33 feet.
The reason there's only 33 feet is
Yeah.
because there was no law for that piece. And they tried to get 66,
Yeah.
obviously this neighbor on the north didn't wanna
Yeah,
sell or
yeah,
sign,
yeah.
and the one on the south did, so they only got 33 feet, so now you have like a irregular easement basically, so it makes it tough to probably even build anything legitimate back there.
Because you take the road going south of Winton from Terry Holzer's place going south, that's a federal aid road.
Yep,
And there's two guys that did grant them easement, so there's some places that's 33 feet,
yeah,
and that should be 75 feet, the others all at 75.
well, if they didn't wanna sell more right away or
Yeah,
something, right, cause
yeah.
the state and, I believe it's actually even federal to a point because of the rectangular surveys, so like when they adopted that for like the western part of the United States, the states essentially kind of adopted kind of a federal plan of that, that's why it's probably like that in other states like Wyoming, South Dakota, to a point, and then everybody modifies it a little, but.
And they technically by law do not have to sell that additional.
No,
I don't know.
you only have to give them the 33, that's the law, anything after that goes through a process of purchasing or eminent domain, I'd imagine, if it's the right scenario, so yeah, right.
Okay. So what do we
That,
wanna do on
that,
this?
there was nothing that had to be done, somebody signed 33 feet on the south side and somebody on the north didn't sign
Didn't do
an
it.
inch.
Yeah. So he's gotta get a green light from Dwayne, what's his name, Newsman,
That or stay,
on the north side, that's up to
that or
them.
stay on the section line and south, whatever
Yeah.
that easement is, but then, like you said, that's, kind of what we're thinking, it's probably his responsibility to identify that easement.
And that's not even straight, is it?
Yeah, the road goes past it, doesn't look straight,
Somewhat.
well, drifts a little bit.
South. But I'm sure it's all based on timing, and who drove through
Well,
the
and
first
who
time, you
knows,
know?
landowners from 80 years ago versus now, you might have no problem, it might not even be an issue. so.
Yeah. So what do we have to do on that going to the north where there is easements?
Is that a section line right there, Josh?
This is section line,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then you would have
33,
33 feet on each side.
But we have to grant him and waive the responsibility to him, away from him, onto us, if he builds that up, or what do we do?
Well, he'd have to build it, where the road is or where the access is, so I guess
Right.
if they don't know, I think that they would have to get it surveyed unless you guys decide that you wanna help them out and survey that.
Right, that's what I was just saying, like, do we have a responsibility other than just granting him the ability to improve a section line?
That's
That's
the statute,
okay, so, cause I didn't wanna go doing that and then find out that it's like, well, you're supposed to do this, this, and this, I was like, well, if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have let him do it, so. My opinion is, yeah, the county commissioners give you the ability to improve it, but it's your responsibility to, you're taking on the responsibility of improving it so it's passable, and it's also, just cause you're putting the money into it doesn't mean that you're the only one that can drive on it, it's
Right,
public access, so you're
right.
just giving them cause the commissioners more than likely would not improve that section line if it was our responsibility, so.
If something happens and he did the improvements, who does it fall back on? Somebody with
I would
legal
say
counsel?
that would be my opinion, because that's where, like, that's the point, you're essentially passing the
Pass.
risk on to them, they're taking it on by saying, I'll improve it, so. And the road superintendent probably needs to be involved, to at least just make sure it's not hyper dangerous, I mean, we probably still have a just responsibility to make sure that they're at least making it passable, but,
And it could happen on any road, I mean, you take that Carlson place up there, that lake,
yeah.
that's steep, I mean, if somebody goes off, you're probably gonna get hurt.
Well, and that's just, I would
That's part of
say,
it.
I would say if you're gonna grant the ability for him to improve that section line, then he's taking on the responsibility, and that's pretty much where it lands.
I should say Russ would have the final inspection on it. If it needs a little bit here and there, let him do it. Just to cover us.
Of course, I don't know if you wanna do that, cause then
Being
you are
here, morning,
technically
Russ.
involving anybody. right?
Being you're here this morning, Russ,
You wanna be involved
and
in
you
all
looked
of
at
it.
that Asper Road going north, that section line.
Not yet, he was gonna get back to me
Okay.
once he,
Because we talked to him after he come back, Josh, we called him and talked to him. And he was gonna get a hold of you, which he did, but you never got out there.
he did, when we left the meeting that day, we talked outside.
Yep.
He was gonna do some stuff and get back to me, and I have not heard back from him yet.
Okay, he just put up temporary fence, we just talked about hot wires. He didn't put up any permanent fence yet, until he knows what he can do and what he can't do,
Okay,
okay? And I guess we can't say anything until somebody looks at it, right?
Well, cause I think that would be the other question, just kinda chatting with Joe here, is like, how hard is it gonna be to make it passable? Because I don't know if you wanna grant people the ability to fix a right of way if it's like really dangerous and someone's gonna do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
You're almost better off to leave it impassable for the safety of the public, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if it would be his responsibility, there's no guarantee that we wouldn't get drug into something, so then do you wanna grant the ability to improve that spot if it's not that bad? I'd say it'd almost be like having Russ almost be kinda like a Josh in this situation, like have him go out and evaluate it and be like, is this even doable? Maybe it's really flat, it's not a big deal, but
I think it's all cattails.
it's more likely probably
I
not a
don't
big
know.
deal, but I'm just saying, it maybe isn't the most prudent thing to pass something like that, just looking at an aerial photo that's maybe a year old, you know, I mean, it's maybe best to just have somebody actually.
You've hunted that, right, Josh? Is that all
Down there.
cattail?
I haven't drove all the way down that road, but he said several hunters were stuck there this year.
No,
That
so
they
it's
pulled
still
out,
wet.
that got down into
Looks to
here.
me like if the lake comes up, it'll be under.
Yeah,
Underwater.
there's years that it did come up, you know, around here, but.
Yeah, that's deceiving to the public eye when you look at that aerial photo.
Yeah.
You don't have a clue, you know, and you have an idea. It's a wetland.
I have no problem, you know, grant people the ability to improve a section line, I just also don't wanna incur any kind of risk or responsibility on the county side unless maybe we should probably revamp the process a little bit too, like maybe we can approve it and have like Russ give the final, like go out there and just look and be like, is it even drivable or not, or, you know, or I don't know if that's the right way to do it or not, but. Cause I would assume we would have no responsibility, but that doesn't mean we can't get drug in by the guy who improved the section lines lawyer by saying, well, you never should've let him do it if you thought it could, yeah, I just.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be too cavalier with just being like, yeah, let him fix it, then you find out there's a problem, maybe we should have a little better process with that, you know, I don't know.
I agree.
I mean, it just, cause it seems like something that you're gonna, most of these places, if they were worth fixing up, there probably would've been a road built on it years ago, so you kinda have to wonder if it's a good idea or not.
Right.
Maybe to just leave it as kind of unimproved, and whoever wants to use it, just use it as their,
They were carved in the 30s when it was bone dry with a buggy.
yeah, I don't know.
Who knows, you know, you don't know, nobody can speak. That was Jake Fear's brother that lived back there.
Oh,
Did you know old Bill?
Nope. Jake, I did.
I knew both of these characters. He was the oldest, I think.
Oh, is that right?
But yeah, I don't know what to say. Does anybody have any better ideas? If not,
Well, I would let him make the next move, if he talked about getting a hold of Russ, and Russ could look at it.
I go
I
for
doubt he's gonna be doing too much throughout the whole winter.
Probably,
That's what I just,
probably on the whole.
I think we can throw it on Russ a little bit, sorry, Russ. You needed another thing on your plate, but
Did you?
he was gonna get a hold of you
No, it's
anyway, and then you guys can go look at it, see what you think, if it's worth even, you know, maybe it's too dangerous, like Aaron said, maybe we don't even wanna give him the chance to do it, because it's just gonna make it worse.
I just feel like we should probably have a little better vetting process, kinda like how
Yeah.
we've done, like Josh goes out and looks at these building permits, so at least we're not just approving, you know, some
Yeah.
massive building over the top of a cliff, you know, when we should, you know, and so, I mean, some of these section lines are pretty rugged. If we're gonna give permission, we should probably have some kind of vetting process.
I just figure if he was gonna get a hold of Russ and hasn't
Yeah.
yet, then let him get a hold of Russ and they can go look
I
at it.
mean, more than likely with it being like a lake, I'm sure it's flat and it's not overly dangerous or nothing, but at the same time, I don't wanna create a risk scenario because we're just kinda giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. Not everybody's capable of fixing a road either, not everybody, he's sometimes giving permission to people to do something, you're just creating a problem rather than just letting it be, but.
He's got a ton of rock, he claims,
Yeah.
that he hauled off that Volk land on the section lines.
Well, it looks like it was built up at one point, there's gotta be an elevation change there. I mean,
Gotta be.
There's gotta be some ditches or slopes from years and years ago at least, it looks like.
Somebody barely passed it.
Right.
Like a corner,
It
or-
does.
Just telling the growth alongside of the road.
I mean, to me, it looks like they meandered a quarter line to tie into a section line, cause the rest of the section line's probably underwater, that's what I would guess, so. I mean, I don't have a problem with it morally, I just wanna make sure we're not getting ourselves in any trouble, so.
Let him.
Let him get a hold
Yeah,
of
let
Russ.
him
and go
get a
from
hold of
there.
Russ.
Let's move on
Okay.
then, okay?
Well, I would say, yeah, Russ, do you wanna at least just give us an opinion of that when you get a chance to see if
Do
it's
it,
not a
yeah.
big deal, or if it's something we should look into more?
Does anybody have his cell phone number?
I do.
Josh or Dan probably.
Yeah. Right, too, right.
Yeah.
I'll get it to you, Russ, but I won't do it on the over here.
Okay, that's good enough.
I'll get it to you. Next item is considering, oh wait, Christine Sebano wants to speak. You're next, Christine. She wanted to come on so bad to speak about this.
I was dreaming about it.
Boy,
Good morning. Okay, battery storage facility is the question. I guess the first thing to determine is who is going to assess it, and that's the problem. Is it gonna be centrally assessed, or is it gonna be locally assessed? If we go by how how Beck and everybody is assessed, they're centrally assessed by the state, so they're assessed by their usage. And I kind of lean in that boat that this is gonna be utilizing kilowatts or megawatts or however, whatever you wanna call it, so it should probably be centrally assessed, because if I locally assess it, I don't think there's gonna be anything to assess except the land. So if your top sheet there talks about the first step in determining if it's centrally assessed is ownership. So I'm guessing that they do fall under, this is the state's requirements. I'm guessing they do fall under number one, because they're a utility company and they're gonna own this battery storage facility. And it's their plant, so it should be centrally assessed, unless they're leasing it to themselves, which in that case, they would be category number 2. And then that income would be reported through the other company. So that's what we have to determine first of all from them, who's gonna own it and if they're gonna lease it from themselves or how that's gonna work.
excuse me, is this land purchased from Schmitz?
No,
Or is it leased?
no, it's being leased with the option.
Option to purchase.
Not saying that they ever will purchase it, it might be
So they are
Yeah.
leasing it.
might be a long lease, who knows? I think they're gonna purchase it, but.
My assumption is the lease is, the purchase option is probably contingent on getting permits.
Yeah, probably.
Because, the reason I say that is because they did purchase some of that land for their O&B office, and then they were gonna build that substation next to it, they purchased another 5 acres. And then when that, part of that facility got shut down, or phase 2 or whatever, they didn't need that substation,
Yeah.
then they had 5 acres there that they had to try and get, they tried selling it back to landowners, nobody
Is
wanted
that
to buy
like
that.
that out there?
It's out there by, like Stan Newman and all that out there, yeah, so there was like an
Oh.
additional 5 acres that was like stripped and built up, and they were gonna build a substation and they didn't, so. My assumption is from that, they're leasing it, if they don't get the permits, they're gonna probably terminate the lease, if they get their permits, then they're probably gonna purchase it and build on it. I mean, that's a pure assumption, but
Probably-
otherwise, it doesn't
probably
make
the
sense
right
to
one.
lease something that you're gonna start building on, assuming they'll buy it if they get all the
Yeah.
permits.
Yeah.
It's a lease to own, by,
But we don't know.
An option.
well, we don't know, and we have no idea for sure if they will purchase it, that's merely an assumption, but it sounds like that's the way it was built, so.
Then that moves us on to the next thing
To the what?
the next topic. If you go to page 2, under key evaluation considerations, we have to determine how to classify the land. If we wanna set it as industrial or it's gonna be commercial. If we set it as industrial, we can determine a cost per acre or however you want to tax it. Because in the end, that may be the only way that we can locally assess the plant. If we're not going to have the state centrally assess it, we may only be able to assess the land because the batteries, we can't tax those because they're personal property. The containers that they're in, personal property, we can't tax that. If they have a generator, it's probably gonna be in a semi-truck trailer, can't tax that.
Right.
And
So,
then the thing that kinda caught me, excuse me, Christine, how did they
Go
say
ahead.
that? When these batteries go bad, they won't remove them, they'll just move them aside and replace them with new. Well, how many batteries are gonna be moved off to the side?
They're not gonna take them out of the racks, that's why they're gonna add to it. So, if you have a fire or you have batteries that go bad, those will be taken out, I'm sure. What they're gonna do though, as they degrade, they're not gonna remove them and replace them, they're just gonna put another container to keep their 140 megawatt capacity. Those batteries will still be used, but they won't hold, you know what I mean, as much of a charge as a new battery, is what I gathered out of it, is they're going to just, as they degrade, they're going to bring another container in to bring it back to 140, and then another one until they get to their 183.6, whatever the number was, and then once it starts degrading too much, that's the end of the life, you know?
So then they can only go to 189 or 190?
Yeah, whatever the number was.
Correct?
Yep,
Whatever the
yep.
numbers were.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I assumed.
What I understood.
If they have a battery issue, I would say they're going to remove that bad battery, but they're not going to, they're not saying they're just gonna shut that container down and put a new one in, they're just saying they're gonna degrade, so you won't get as much
Juice.
power coming back out of it, you know, the charge, every time you charge your cell phone, before you know it,
Yeah.
it's dead in half a day instead of 12 hours or whatever, that's what's gonna happen with this, you know, so I think that's how it's gonna
Okay,
work,
we just got to run.
is just my understanding, I could be wrong.
Good.
okay, so that's basically how it's locally assessing it's gonna go. There's not gonna be anything to assess, I'm guessing. They're not gonna be putting down concrete pads for me to assess. It's all gonna be personal property.
Well, they are gonna put concrete pads down, they're gonna put piers with a concrete pad over the top, and then the connex goes onto the concrete
They're
pad.
gonna be those removable pads though, right?
The removal.
Well, more than likely, they're not gonna be a solid piece
So
of
they're not
concrete.
But it's
attached.
gonna be like on 4 corners.
Yeah.
My understanding was that whole pad sits on a pier, and then the connex goes on top of that.
Okay,
So
and
it
the
would be a
piers go
solid
down
pad,
into
and
the
everything is
ground.
bolted into the piers.
So, my question is how much of a fight are we gonna get from our lawyers on taxing?
Well, that's why I think we
That.
need to find out what company they used to give us that 7 million number that they were so proud of.
7.5
I'd like to know what they used and how they came up with that number, to give us an idea, maybe a direction that we can go. Cause I mean, if they're expecting 7 million, whatever, in 20 years of taxable value to us, well, then I say we sock it to them and take what we can out of them,
Right.
if that's, but I'm gonna make a phone call and see if I can get you the name of this firm that came up with that tax evaluation that they brought to us, and maybe we could call them, or you could call them.
Find out how they're
Well, just
getting
find,
to
yeah,
that
what
number.
method did they use, because there is no method in the state of North Dakota.
Mhm.
So did they use it from another state that's had these for years, or At least that gives us a
Well,
direction.
That brings me to another point. I did contact 3 other states that do have facilities exactly like what's being proposed here from Nextera. The only one that got back to me was Colorado. And he sent me a lot of information, but the gist of it is centrally assessed. And they assess any building, if there's a building, et cetera.
Okay.
But it's all centrally assessed, just like the power companies, just like the windmills. So that's why I'm
So
trying to
that's-
lean on the state to centrally assess it, but they don't want to, it sounds like. Or
That's
they
why
don't, or they don't have legislation to back them up to do it, something along that line.
They don't have legislation on any of this stuff, which is.
No, it's kinda.
Well, I think it's interesting though, I wouldn't probably consider it doomsday-ish, because I think this is a chance for us to probably have some input on some of this stuff before it gets
Yeah.
lobbied into oblivion and we get thrown to the wolves. The biggest thing that I can see is, I feel like it should get zoned industrial, because
Yeah.
anything that needs setbacks more than like 100 feet is, like, you wouldn't put a nuclear plant in the Main Street lit, that's not commercial, that's industrial.
Yeah.
This is a similar thing, if you have any kind of noise, light concerns, anything, they like it that it's out in the middle of nowhere, they defended that was a reason why we shouldn't deny it, cause it was out in the middle of nowhere, so I would consider that to be a reason for wanting to call it industrial, you want it away from people. The other thing about it is it was perfectly clear at the PSC hearing that they're citing this like a power plant. That's why there's different, even like the question of whether or not it requires a bond or not, is because they're not requiring a bond, cause they're considering it a power plant. Well, power plants get centrally assessed to my knowledge, because they generate electricity, that has an algorithm, you get paid on how much it produces or stores, whatever. Which I think is probably the proper way to do it, because that's where the value is gonna come in. The value of convex
Right.
boxes that depreciate over 5 to 10 years, or batteries that are no good, or even if we do get some money out of it, cause we're getting to assess the crap out of it, it's gonna depreciate faster than heck over time. Centrally assessed is probably where, even though the value will probably decrease to that because it won't be as efficient, it's gonna probably be more consistent flow of income.
But we don't know, as they bring in more batteries, it could retain its efficiency.
It could, but I mean, just the general assumption is it's probably not gonna be as efficient as it was when it's brand new.
Right.
But still, just like the wind towers and everything, the first couple of years were supposedly the best, after that, they don't produce as much, just the car doesn't run as good, everything doesn't, but, right, if they are gonna have an enhancement plan and they have a replacement plan, it's probably gonna stay consistent, and if it does, then the centrally assessed is the most beneficial to both the state and the counties, which I think, well, I should say local jurisdictions, townships too, if they exist, but I think it should be conditionally changed to industrial from ag, and then it should be centrally assessed based on what it stores or produces.
That's what I was thinking.
And my opinion doesn't necessarily matter, but it does to a point where we get to maybe be at the forefront of probably trying to craft some of this, and I don't think anybody's gonna disagree with us, so I think it's a good opportunity for us to be vocal about it. And so,
Because Burke County at the moment was approached 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, with a battery storage facility.
well, they filed for
They did
permits,
that.
they filed for PSC permits in Burke the same time they did in Emmons.
Was it?
We're not the first, we're one of the first.
Is it next year also?
I believe so,
Yeah.
I think it's next year for that too, so, cause that's why they filed the
Yeah.
permits at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, they contacted me to see how we're assessing
Right.
it, so they hadn't even gotten past the permit stage, I don't believe.
Okay.
And I think, in my opinion, I still feel like we've gone about this the right way, because I think this is, I mean, if PSC isn't reliable enough to be able to make some of these decisions when there isn't legislation, when there's statewide elected officials, then we might as well scrap that office, cause it's useless. So, I feel like we did our job as a county, we vetted the area and where it's going, and we held our processes, and it's not our job to legislate on the state levels or anything either. And so if the PSC's gonna grant them a permit without legislation, I don't believe that's the county's responsibility, that's the PSC. So, I think right now I think it's a good situation, because it's gonna put pressure on these guys to actually try and solve this, you know? So, I think just denying it because there's no ruling on it, there's never gonna be anything until someone finally does approve it anyway, so we might as well push it forward and see where it goes. And I think we might have some input since we're one of the first ones, they might actually consider our opinion, so.
So do we have to put some verbiage in what we do, as if there's something that is approved, that we're automatically part of it?
Well, I don't know exactly, you know, I'm not a lawyer.
I'm not an attorney.
I just pretend to be here, so, sorry, Joe. But I just, you know, I give my opinion when I probably shouldn't, so. Well, Joe's probably looking like whatever, just say it's fine, but I just, from the little bit of, you know, talking and involvement I've had with all these other projects, I mean, just gonna be honest with you, this stuff usually ends up landing at whoever's got the most lobbyist dollars at the legislature. And so, we can put a book twice as thick as what Christina gave us, and if the state decides they're gonna overrule us on it, we found that out with Summit. You just pretty much have to lawyer your way out of it. I think we're going down the right path, we're revamping our zoning, we're looking into it, and I think we have leeway to make corrections even if it affects this project afterwards. I don't think we can just shut it down 2 years later because of something we're trying to pass, but I think even with this, the batteries, if they're doing something that we don't like, I think we have it in our ability to be able to make some changes, like we don't want them stored on site, we want them removed, and I think there is leeway for that kind of stuff, and I don't think you're gonna see a state law that's gonna overrule us on things like that. I think there is a lot of local control still in the legislature, as long as it's not over lobbied, and I don't know if this is gonna be that situation, cause it's so new, so I think we can be realistic, and we can probably work with them to make a project that works, but I think we can be absolutely firm on things that we don't like, and I think they're gonna have to work with us to a point, because I can tell you one thing, just cause we granted a permit, there's definite verbiage in state law and even in our own permit that says if they're doing things that we don't like, we can shut them down, like, I mean, we better have a dang good reason and be prepared to defend it, but if they're dumping batteries in the ditch, like, I mean, we can shut them down, they can't just do whatever they want just cause they have a permit, so I don't think they're gonna do that, I'm not saying they would, but I think there's a common misconception that, like, now that we gave them a permit, they can do whatever they want, that's entirely false, and I think there's a lot of leeway, cause there isn't state law where we can be like, well, there's no law to do that, and we don't like that, so yeah, we're gonna enforce that, and they would be wise to do whatever they can to just make sure they're not doing that stuff, and I think they will, but.
I do too.
So, I don't think I would be so terrified that some of this stuff isn't ironed out, I think it gives us an opportunity to probably have it done the way we would like to see it, cause the state hasn't screwed it up yet, to be honest with you, so. And I don't know how the PSC is gonna rule on it, because without legislation, I would be cautious to approve a permit on their side too, because it has, to me, it has more wide-ranging effects on them than it does with us when it comes to things like precedent. You can have a county that maybe doesn't quite know what they're doing, we granted a permit to the best of our abilities, but when it comes to the PSC, I mean, they're reaching out to every other public entity, I mean, if the state health department, all these other guys, and they go and give the go-ahead, and then the legislature does something way different, that doesn't look good on them either, so if I was them, I'd be cautious to, or I would probably grant a permit with some serious guardrails that, you know, make sure that they don't do something that is, you know, maybe out of line. I don't know, I'm just saying, I think the PSC's probably gonna vet it pretty hard. I'd be shocked
I think
if
I
they
do too,
didn't.
the way it was taking place like that.
So I think
It's so new.
I think Christina doing this information is awesome, and I think this is the kind of stuff we need to keep evaluating, and I think we need to keep a close eye on it, and if it starts going the way we don't like it, then we have a right to step in at some point.
I'd like to give her a day to go up and see Mr. Armstrong, and then in the state, to discuss this.
Do you think Armstrong give her a whole day? If you lucky to get 15 minutes, I'm gonna be critical of the state on this stuff, because, you know, they spent more time attacking us at the last legislative session over the Summit Pipeline than even realizing that this stuff was coming down. And the fact that it wasn't really even brought up or discussed at the last legislative session is kind of surprising. So, I mean, I don't feel like it's county's responsibility if this is behind the 8 ball, it's the state. If they wanna act like they're our grandparents and tell us everything that needs to be done, then get it done. Like, quit making it sound like it's our fault that we passed something you're not ready for when you didn't do your job to be ready for it.
But right now, it sits in our hands as far as anyone at the state that I talked to about it,
Right.
they don't know what to do with it, to put it
So,
on.
how do we go about making this industrial versus ag?
Well, I think the conditional use permit allows us the ability to change the zoning, they applied for that, and I don't know if it says we have to choose something right away, do we, or?
No, I are you talking about actually changing the way it's zoned or change the way it's taxed?
Yeah, they're two different, or do they?
I mean, you wanna change our zoning, you know, how the land is zoned, or is that what you're asking?
Well, I
'Cause that
guess,
would require-
well, this is what, I don't know how I should say the way I'm thinking, but it's no longer agricultural land.
Yeah, I think we're
It's-
looking at changing the zoning.
In the zone,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
so it should be identified as industrial property. Correct, am I wrong in what I just said?
Well, if you wanna change the way it's zoned, I would assume it would require a public hearing, but we have to look at the ordinance book for that, but typically that's the process.
Okay, okay.
Well, cause like even a conditional use permit doesn't change the way it's taxed, it's changed the way it's zoned, right?
So a conditional use permit, you're doing something in an area that's zoned that's not normally allowed, but
Right.
it's conditionally allowed. It doesn't change the way it's zoned, it just, you have to have a hearing that says, okay, we will allow you to do that type of thing on that piece of property, you know, subject to the, conditional use that states that is permitted in the ordinance book. So that was one of the uses that you guys determined was conditionally allowed for agricultural zone areas. You didn't have to rezone, you just allowed, you know, like the ordinance permits, a conditional use in an agricultural zone area, so.
Wouldn't it make more sense though to change it for something that's expected to have a life of 25 or 30 years? Since it is basically an industrial, I mean, in my opinion, I'm thinking it would make the most sense to rezone it. You can always put it back to agricultural, which they said could be done
Right,
as well.
which she stressed, like young kids stressed.
I mean, it's being used as an industrial piece of property once this is up.
Yeah,
Correct. I don't know, I mean, your ordinance allows conditionally these type of projects to happen in agricultural land, so if you wanna change it, then we'll have to look into what the process is to rezone the area.
Well, I think it'd be something to consider, especially like with a new zoning board coming on and reevaluating the entire county, because when you have enough
Right.
conditional use permits in one area, it's like, at what point do you just go, well, this 80 or this quarter is now considered industrial? You wouldn't need a conditional use permit inside that, though, it would just be a regular application for something probably then, cause now it would be, it would be basically the acceptable thing to do in that area, so.
yeah, yeah.
You'd have to, you know, consider that when you're zoning it too, but also it's basically like that area out there is kind of becoming almost an industrial park now. I mean, you have wind towers, you have a substation, you have, like, how long are you really gonna consider a certain part of that to really be agricultural anymore? Like, that's probably a fair assessment, you know, when you're considering rezoning, but.
And just another one, excuse me, say a data center, 2 years from now is introduced, out at that location. Are we gonna go with agriculture property, or is that industrial?
Well, and I think that those are the things to consider, because the conditional use permit allows you to probably quickly allow something in an area that you're gonna allow anyway. The long-term solution is, you don't change your zoning day to day, month to month, year to year,
Right.
but over the course of now 5, 6 years, it's like, okay, how much of this land is really agricultural? And the other question would be, you can still allow agricultural activities inside of an industrially zoned area probably, like you can still probably allow them to farm, even though it's industrially zoned, it's probably gonna get taxed different to who owns it, or, you know, those are some of the questions.
So let me ask you this, can you do it like even on turbines? On their 3-acre piece around a turbine site, is that because it is industrial, it's corporate American doing business on land that was homesteaded by our great-grandfathers. So how do you do this?
I know there is some opinions or rulings on things like spot zoning though too, like you gotta be careful, like Joe was mentioning, there are certain things you can't. Like you can't just go and be like, this 1 acre is probably gonna be industrial, like kind of target something, like it has to be probably a part of a broader scope, so.
Okay.
I think that's where, like what Joe was mentioning, you know, the process, there are restrictions on how you can just, you can't just like isolate small pieces, and if you do, yeah, there's probably a process for that too, like you can't just go and be like, well, this acre is industrial and then this 10 acres, like it's gonna have to be probably divided out and probably a little more particular than what we're probably interested in doing.
Yeah.
You probably take like a broader scope, like a more concentrated area, but that's probably, I know there are lawyers and engineers that specifically study zoning and planning, that if you were gonna probably start to get that serious, that's something, you know, like a planning and zoning board would maybe wanna contract or retain somebody that's gonna have a little more experience than that than just your state's attorney or your county commissioner, but.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think you can to a point, and then there's a point where they're gonna force you to, you know, there's probably minimums on acreages or the something,
Okay,
so.
okay, just had to throw it out there, okay.
But anyway, I would say for now, I don't know if there's anything like we have to really totally consider.
So doesn't Next Era own, they don't really own, batteries?
Well, they'll own it, but it will be considered personal property because it's renewable. So, personal property is not taxed.
So, but if they own it and they own the wind farm, shouldn't it be centrally assessed then?
That's what I believe it should be.
Yeah.
But it will be centrally assessed based on the usage, just like the power company.
Yeah.
That
to me
seems
like
logical to me.
That would be the
And then-
correct way to do
Well,
it.
this other big thing that I gave you came from federal government talking about how to evaluate battery storage facilities. And on page 7, it talks about their process to evaluate based on usage. Power that's brought down and stored, and then they tax it again when it's sent out. So,
But who in our county is gonna be out there monitoring?
right,
Go ahead
if
and
we're
put it on.
expected to do this, we don't really have
You
the
don't have the
capabilities.
guidelines or ability,
Yeah.
no.
So I don't really know where we go from there if the state decides that we have to assess it like this. So like Aaron was saying, we are gonna be the ones determining a lot of how this process happens for the whole state, cause we're not gonna be the only one after a few years. We're gonna be leading the charge.
Well, I think as far as having someone monitor the project, that's part of a topic for later in the meeting.
It is,
So
yeah.
I have some ideas when we talk about the resolution and some of the other stuff that we should look into, so.
You did a good job, you do that, what you put together.
Well, did the best we could, we're hoping you guys can fill in the blanks if there's spots we missed, so, but yeah, I don't think it's a bad document, so. But yeah, later on, I got some thoughts on some things, so.
So
Go ahead,
some other things to consider for just the value side of it would be if, say the permit requires them to have some fire safety processes, like they have to build a wall around the whole facility, and I could tax that. Basically, that's the gist of it. I'll let you know what I can value.
Thanks for what you put together.
Yeah, I hope it helps.
It definitely helps, because nobody has any
Nobody
information,
has
so
not
any
known.
bit of information is helpful, so.
And I'm sure they're getting a tax break from the federal government
No,
to build these,
No.
so,
There's no incentives at all.
if there's not any other questions,
thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming in.
thank you.
Great job on video. She said, I hate this so much. Okay. Who's the next one here on? The weed board.
B,
Who?
B.
B, consider lowering the minimum sale price of tax delinquent homes in Hazelton and don't sell at the public auction.
And the A part is part of that too, that the house is a big sell as well.
Okay. None of them sold, right?
I don't believe so.
None of them, right?
And in my opinion, this is just my thoughts, I think we should just give them to the cities if they wanna take them for a buck and let them liquidate them. The one in Linden is basically a tear down.
Is it?
She came to make sure nobody else, she has the adjacent land, Lillian
So
Downs.
nobody wanted
Nobody wanted it, she didn't wanna pay that amount of money. And I don't blame her, $600 to $900 to turn around and pay
it. So
$3,000 to tear it down.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, that one for sure should just go back to the city if they'll take it for a buck and they can work with her to get it tore down or whatever.
So are we gonna be part of this tear down like we talked last month? Or no?
Well, no, cause we haven't came up with anything, but
Well, we will, because the city's not gonna take them for $1 until we tear the house down. I can just tell you that.
They won't.
Well,
They're not gonna take, no.
this one though, I think they will because
I mean, you can offer it to them.
they have a buyer that wants to buy it.
I mean, you can offer it to them, but past sentiment is always wait for the county to tear the house down, then take it for $1, so.
Yeah.
There's a house in Hazelton, somebody is interested in, or two parties are interested in, but they don't wanna make the leap until they can see inside and see what they're
Yeah,
getting
that's
into,
kinda
so
how
what
it
do you
works,
do?
that's the crap deal, it's
Yeah.
storage wars all over again.
Right.
Well, I only thought about that because I did contact Marlis just to see how the auction went, and she said that nobody wanted to purchase them. Well, that tells me that the prices are obviously too high for the risk too, so.
Right.
But then she also mentioned that there was more than one party maybe interested in one house, and how would you go about that, so.
Yeah, right.
I mean, without Joe here right now, I don't know what totally is, I know you get offered that opinion. To me, it sounds like we can't offer it to anybody for less than the set price other than the government subdivisions. So like if you wanna offer it to a separate person, you have to adjust the price.
Right.
Well, if you're gonna do that and there's more than one person, I think what we should do is probably lower the price and just re-auction everything and see if, you know what I mean, like if our prices were too high, you could either, I mean, if you're worried about a specific house that's unlivable, you maybe wanna just see if the cities wanna take it on and deal with it, but if not, if some of these houses are livable, we just have the price too high that people don't want the risk, maybe just lower the price and re-bid them, re-auction.
Well, wasn't there something that you said, that you need to involve a real estate individual to do it?
No.
Joel sent that out.
Joe, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these livable ones, I don't disagree with you, I think we reevaluate and put them on the,
Right.
put them back on the market. Like I said, the one in Linton it's absolutely unlivable.
Well, I can tell you the one in Hazelton that didn't get any action, cause I think that one was what, 16,000 or something, you know, which my opinion is I know that house was recently lived in and had a lot of work done, but the doors are locked, the windows are all covered. So I just went over there just to, it's not like, what's the story, why does nobody want it? Well, nobody wants it, cause all you can look at is the outside, so for 16,000 bucks, that's probably a pretty big risk, you know, for a third of that or half that, maybe somebody does bite, but, cause that's not a property I don't think the county wants to tear down, it seems like it's perfectly livable. I don't think we can be the guardians of every house and just pretend that we know what's best for who's gonna live in it and who's not, so. I think if there are certain houses that are, you know, a lot of people think are unlivable and it's kind of a public opinion, we don't want them out there, then like you said, let the city dictate who they want living in their town, so.
That house you're talking, is that house on Main Street?
No.
North, on the west side, that little greenhouse?
No,
That's boarded shut.
no, that's
Another house.
That's a whole nother thing, yeah. No, this is probably actually worse than that, cause it's not all sided, some of it's chipboarded up and it's got lap and plastic on the north side or the west side to keep the, I mean, I was in it, I went and, the back door was open, I went and looked at it, it's shot.
And the one on the north side also,
Right,
that's
yeah,
another.
right there it is, so this is all chipboarded, and I don't know if you can see the alley, if you can go over one and, yeah, see, it's all lapped up and plastic, and it's, the guy died in there, and it's never been touched, other than they took the couch with him on it out, I believe, and the rest of it's still sitting, I mean, there's food on the table, it's just rotting away, it's disgusting, yeah.
And that one on Main Street is another, is that privately owned or?
Yes,
go back to the
that's
city?
another one the city's working on, yeah,
That's an
that's,
eyesore.
yeah, well, we got a few eyesores, yeah, we're working on them.
We got them in Strasburg too.
Yeah.
Bad.
I mean, in my opinion on this one in Linden is offer to the city, let them deal with what they think, I mean, there was a person interested in buying it and tearing it down, and they can negotiate with that person, and if they can't come up with something, they can deny it, and it comes back to us, I guess. But I like the idea of renegotiating these houses that appear very livable in Hazelton.
Or at least people that have interest in them, but they've already said that the price is too high.
Yeah.
If you have more than one person, you have some interest, I mean, the number one goal is to get them lived in, get them on the tax rolls again.
Yeah.
Right.
County's not in the property business, I mean, that's, so.
I'll tell you, 10 and 16,000 is a lot of money where you can't, I mean, all you're looking at is outside, you know, you hear stories.
I
of
can just
people-
speak to the one, cause it's across the street from my shop, I walked over there just to see what the deal was, and yeah, once I realized you can't even look at the windows, it's like, I wouldn't take a chance on it, it's a pretty big risk.
Well, you could pour concrete down the pipes, I mean, who knows, down the toilets, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that people can do.
Well, even the major concern with some of these houses, if people left abruptly, were they winterized, were they, you know, or, I mean, the furnace
Probably
could be
not.
destroyed, like, you're taking a big risk on something that could be like that one that Josh is zooming in on there, I mean, it's a fenced in property, it's not a bad property, but there's a lot of unknowns, it's pretty risky, like.
Is that the West Stramer gas station?
It's right kitty corner from the gas station, yes. And it hasn't been lived in for, I think, 2 or 3 years.
That doesn't look like a station.
It doesn't, but again, on the inside, and I can tell you that not all the windows were replaced, so some of them are old, some of them are new, so it's kinda hodgepodge, so you have no idea what the, if it was totally redone on the outside, you'd be like, oh, maybe, but there is enough evidence to show that the inside might not be touched, and that's 16 grand's a lot of money to.
I'm sure they
Do we
would
just try to recoup maybe our taxes on these things?
Well, I don't know, I mean, that's where, just evaluating the process, I think, we probably try to keep them
Should we
high.
ask Hazelton if they want them for $1 and let them sell them whoever they wanna sell them to?
Is that what we do? Wash our hands for a buck and let it go?
Well, one thing about it is it washes our hands of the ability to have to tear them down or do anything, which incurs a lot of costs on us, and I mean, a lot of people will say, well, what's the difference if the county tears it down to the city? Well, the difference is the city of Hazelton has a different opinion than the city of Lytton or city of Strasburg on who should be living in these houses or not. And with the county, we're taking everybody's tax dollars to tear them down, like, I don't feel like just Lytton or just Hazelton or just Strasburg should get to use us as a way to tear down houses in their town. If they don't want someone living in it, they should take it for $1 and then, like you said, auction it themselves. If they wanna be the gatekeepers of who's living in their community, but I know the county has some responsibility because of the county sheriff and if there's trouble, but I don't think it's our responsibility to dictate who's living in these towns. That's not really this board's responsibility, it's more of a city issue if they have concerns. And if they don't, put it on auction for $1 and see where it goes, I don't know, you know, I mean, it's just not our, the more houses we have that are in our possession, that's a bad thing, we're not property managers, so. I think whatever the process is to probably lower the entry point and get some people who wanna purchase these properties is the best. I'd say offering to the cities maybe the best first choice. If they turn us down because they don't want the responsibility, then it's not that big of a risk for whoever moves into town, otherwise
Well,
it's,
and I mean, it's apparent, somebody is interested in purchasing one for the taxes owed on it.
yeah.
There's 2 people interested in that one.
You know, and I think that's the biggest thing, is I think we need to at least get our tax dollars back on these properties.
Well, my curious question is, cause 2 of them were interested in the same house in Hazelton, if you lower the prices, maybe they even meet together and go, I'll take that one, you take, we might get both of them, that, like, there's obviously an interest for cheaper housing in Hazelton, I mean,
So do we deal with that, or do you think you give them back to the city and let the city deal with
If
it?
we deal with it, we gotta notify the public if we know that,
Right.
we lower the price.
We do, yeah, if we change the value,
That's what
we
it
have to,
says,
yeah.
I mean, that was Joe's, one of his concerns.
You're right, yeah.
I feel like a good practice would be to at least consider the cities right away.
Yeah.
If they turn us down, then it's our responsibility again, then we go through another process, like,
Yeah,
if they don't wanna take it for $1 and they don't wanna deal with it, it's too big of a hassle, then I don't think they have the right to criticize us when we do something different with it then.
So do we need a motion for this or no? Or just,
I mean, I
think we
guess,
have to make a motion on that, don't we?
do we?
I would say if anything, if you want a motion, I would say my motion is just to offer these properties to the individual cities.
City.
And whichever ones they don't take, we're probably gonna have to just put back on auction.
And I'll second,
For
I'll
$1?
second that
You want
motion.
For $1, right, Eric?
Well,
For
I
$1,
would, I
Well, for
mean,
the value of the tax,
well, to ask the cities to pay the tax to the county doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I would say my motion is to
Yeah.
offer these properties to the cities they're in for $1.
and we can do this, Joe, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And I'll second that.
second by Gardner, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item C, public comment opportunity pursuant to SB 2180.
We just gotta put that on every month.
So we just
Do what?
gotta,
We have to put that on every
We
month.
got every month, so
There's
anybody else?
somebody out
if
there.
someone comes in, or someone's here.
Yeah, anybody have something to say in regards to it? No?
Nothing.
Nothing, okay. And we'll move on to item D. D, board request to amend meeting pay. They wanna jump it from what, 150 to 200, am I right, what I remember, what I read?
Yeah, my only concern was if we do that, we gotta revisit zoning and planning board to deal, because I think we were only at 100.
I think that should have been done before our budget.
It should have been, yeah.
Did they give a reason why they wanna amend it
Well,
outside of the
because
budget?
it takes, they say, well, it does take, I suppose it takes a day.
Oh, no, I get the reason for amending it, why are we amending it now?
Oh,
I mean, that's something that should be coming up already in June, like, if they wanna change the,
oh, yeah, I don't
the
know.
pay, I mean, it's no different than anything else, like,
Right.
I'm not in favor, but each guy his own. They just
Well, I
got it
think-
for November 18th, 2025, Emmons County Weed Board.
They
meeting.
must have met, and then they talked.
I think one thing is you get what you pay for when it comes to these meetings. I mean, you get people that,
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I think Aaron brought this up when we talked about the zoning and planning board is, if you want people to actually be willing to sit on these boards, you gotta, it's not a paycheck you're gonna survive off of, but you at least have to cover some of their expenses for missing a half a day or travel and everything else. And
Joe, I had forwarded you this email. Did you look at the century code? Is there a limit?
I don't even recall the email, I'm not
Just to
sure if there's a
confirm,
limit.
you want to power off this device?
A limit for how much they can receive at the.
Right.
Oh,
I'm not sure,
Why she talks, she goes,
we don't look into it.
argues. What that? What? I'd argue their phone too. There,
you better listen. Excuse me, what do we wanna do in this deal? Deny it or what?
so is the process that they have to come to the county commissioners, cause it's outside the budget cycle or something, is that the?
Well, I just think I think it says in the North Dakota Century Code that you guys are in charge of what these boards get paid.
oh,
Unless, I don't know why else they're, Joe, can you weigh in on that? I don't know why else they would be asking you guys.
Yeah, I'd have to look into it, so.
well, I have no I agree with Jim and Gardner. You know, you kinda get what you pay for. You don't wanna disappoint people that are willing to serve either.
Well, we're talking about an increase of $50
Yeah, it's not
per
a
meeting,
lot.
there's 5 members, so what,
$250.
$250 a month?
Yeah. My only thought was we should, if we do pay the weed board that, we probably should pay the planning and zoning committee. I mean, that's only at 100.
Burley's at, what you gonna call it, they're at 85, I believe, for planning and zoning.
Okay.
Well, and it depends, I mean, cause does Burley meet monthly, or do they meet bi-monthly like their commission? Cause when if it's $100 a meeting and you're meeting 2-3 times a month,
Yeah.
you know, that's where I was cautious with the zoning board, not get too high, because let's face it, in the beginning
Yeah.
especially,
They're
these guys
gonna-
might be meeting quite a bit.
yeah,
You don't wanna have $40,000 going in salaries to a
No,
zoning
right.
board, so unless, I mean, you really think it's worth it, so I don't disagree, like I said before, you can't pay $50 a meeting and expect people to cancel their lives one day a month, or even twice a month, it's pretty tough, but, I mean, with this, I guess in my opinion, I always kinda land on this stuff should be happening inside like the budget cycle, so I don't know if $2,000-3,000 is gonna be a budget buster for them, but and then the other thing too is maybe we should probably evaluate all the boards then, if that was the case, cause,
Okay, I found Century Code 4.1-4706. Number 7, the Board of County Commissioners shall establish the rate of compensation for county weed board members. Actual expenditures incurred by board members may be reimbursed at the official reimbursement rates of the appointing authority. So you guys you do establish the rate compensation.
does it have to be requested this time of year though, cause again, that's my
I just think they wanted it done so they
Sure.
could start at the first of the year, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they don't understand that.
But I mean, my assumption would be they base their budget on their current rate. So that's where you hate to pass something, then find out you have to amend the budget, and where would they, you know, do they have reserves to be able to amend their budget if it goes over, or are they allowed to do that stuff? I mean, so that's probably more the questions, and we don't have to make a decision now. It's probably something that merits a little more research, cause even like Jim said, when you have the, cause I thought like with the water board, I didn't know if the county commissioners approved that one, cause every one of these boards has different century code. Cause like we brought up before, some boards, county commissioner has to serve on, some they're not allowed to serve on. It's kind of, so I don't know if A is the same for all that too, so I would say it probably would be something to do.
Well,
until we have more
yeah,
information.
planning, there's two commissioners on there,
Yep,
yeah.
I guess I would motion to table this
To table it,
till we have more research, more
Okay.
information.
Aaron makes a motion to table it till more research is done. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Miller, all in favor?
I
Opposed? Motion carried.
wanna just make sure to put that on next month's agenda too, right away, Marlis, or the old and unfinished
Yep.
business or something, okay. Thank you.
Next one is Roger Martin, consideration of appointing Craig Schirmeister to the Lytton Municipal Airport Authority. Morning, Roger.
Morning. Well, Dan said it all. I'm Roger Martin, representing the Municipal Airport Board. Craig Schirmeister, who was here on the night that we had the discussion about funding, he expressed some appreciation for the board and wanted to be put on it. And I did contact him later on, and the board did, the airport board did okay him to come in. We talked to the city last night, and they okayed, or they said it was okay for him to be on the board. The next step, because we're becoming a combined board with the county, would be to come to you guys to ask that he be appointed to the board also.
I'd make a motion to appoint
Craig Schirmeister.
I would second that.
Okay.
So then
You got it, Martin? Okay.
the,
Any discussion?
well, the assumption is that he's to fill the vacancy right now that you
He
have,
is
right?
to fill the vacancy
So then you would have a full board for now?
for right now.
Okay,
And who's the vacancy? The one?
The Kenny Wickenheiser resigned, and so we have to fill him in. Not get into Aaron's thing, but continue on with that vote.
well, I mean, we're in discussion right now, and that's what
Okay, we're on
we're just discussing the motion, the discussion would be, or kind of the question is, are we appointing someone that's, how long is this term, what determines the terms, is he only gonna be on for a year, then it's up for reappointment again, is it, I mean, cause that's kind of,
Yeah.
The state law for the Aeronautics Commission says that they will be on for a 4-year term.
okay.
Would he be?
Do all these guys, does it rotate as far as their expiration of their terms?
Typically, yes,
Okay.
but we've been kind of laxed on that in the past, because what the state also says is that, and we erred on that side because I didn't know the rules and regulations at that time, is that a board member cannot resign until it is filled.
So they're on 4 years.
So they're on for 4 years, but
Would they
Yes.
not be, would he not be continuing Wickenheiser's term and finish that out?
no,
Okay.
he will be starting fresh.
Okay.
Is the
And
term
you've got a
start-
written termination from Kenny allegedly.
Yes,
Does the term start January first then?
it can start December 1st of this year. The Aeronautics Commission and the Municipal Airport Act has, it's 2.06, has all the rules and regulations for the running of the board, funding, disbursements, and follows through on everything that the airport can do.
I'm gonna ask you something, Roger, it's been on my mind since you were here the last time. Have you done any homework to check with surrounding airports where guys fly in and do spraying for farmers, what they're being charged in these other surrounding airports?
as to most of the other airports, we charge our sprayers that come in a fee to own the business on the airport. We charge them rent for the area that they're using. Most other airports do not charge anything.
They charge no fee whatsoever
No fee
for
whatsoever.
conduct business.
Yep.
How do they generate revenue? To run a business?
Most of the other airports, there's two ways that they go. There's the city airport, where the city is big enough that they can, the tax revenue that they come in is enough to fund the airport. The other ones that we're going for is that the county has a mill levy, and then that brings it up enough to pay for the running of the airport. The funding for the capital improvements, you know, the runway overlays, whatever needs to be done with the asphalt, you know, the roadways, that is a grant from the airport. The federal FAA has a grant system that is in place that we can accumulate funds, and then it's a 90%, the federal pays 5%, 5% the state pays, and the local is do the other 5%. And that's where we fell behind, is that the 5%, because when we first started, asphalt was going for $100 a ton, and now it's $400 or $500 a ton. It's just, everything's just gone so out of whack that's why we needed the extra. And yes, we have done the homework trying to figure out how to, we've done everything we can on the income side of it, and we're still running up short. But yes, we have done the homework.
Well, Mr. Chairman, just with all due respect, I think we should probably just vote on the motion at hand for the appointment of the position. Probably getting a little off topic here.
Yes, that's,
Okay. Is there a motion?
I think we had a
You had a motion, correct?
And a second.
You second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I have one other thing, I'm sorry, I'm gonna diverge from this. And the other thing that happened last night is that I asked the city to do a committee to do the merging of the two in a good manner. So I'm gonna ask you guys the same thing, trying to get whoever you decide, either from this board or from your personal people that you think that would be a good mix, to come together with the city council, not the city council, but the two people that they appointed, trying to get the merger going, deciding how many people, you know, they want on the board, how the board is gonna be structured, and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's good, Rod. I was gonna ask the same question.
So,
Yeah.
and you don't have to decide that now, you can think about it,
Oh, yeah, we can discuss that.
and that would be, hopefully be in coordination with the state aeronautics, so we can,
I think that's the next step, man.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Roger.
okay. And just for the trivia part of it, is that somebody had asked, not necessarily here, but how many airplanes land and take off from the airport in a year. So Sharon called Grant Irwin is our airport coordinator. And they have, for 2024, they have an approximate of 6,350 operations. which is one operation and one landing, taking off is another operation. And so that's what they estimate they're using. Airplanes have a type of GPS, a system in them that they have to, that they can tell when a person lands and takes off.
Oh, well, that's quite a number.
So that's what they're using for that.
Well, yeah, good job.
Thanks, Roger.
You bet, Roger. So that's one, and it takes off, so it's going across the runway twice, so I don't really want to divide it by two.
You still use it.
6,000 trips up and down the runway.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
So it's 6.
Yeah, plane number would be divided by, but it's still,
Right.
if you think about it, that 6,000 is on the runway.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
What's the question?
Item F is 2018 Chevy Tahoe at the sheriff vehicle for sale. We've got a breakdown of all the repairs that have been done to that vehicle. I think they're just offering, if we're considering the, pardon?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just wonder if we consider, if we are considering to update any vehicles in the county and put this on our list of vehicles, other than to sell it to the general public.
I think we talked about keeping this one a while back, and then we put the white one out at the airport, since they don't have a courtesy vehicle that I don't think anybody on this board would ride in, to be honest with you.
Isn't that,
And then we,
You've used a lot of mice.
no, I haven't used it, but there's mice in it, and duct tape windows, yeah, it's crazy. But, then that way we'd have two kind of the same general vehicle that they could use. Marlis used the other Tahoe we have, she said it was great, used it to go to the conference. I think if we'd have two of the same vehicle, our own little fleet, they're kinda nice. I know Craig and I took one to the 6 county meeting in Carrington, and that's a nice option rather than having to take your personal vehicle and, yeah. Yeah,
If
got
you guys
something
wanna sell the old one, there is an interested buyer, so,
in the old Tahoe,
the old,
Ford?
Oh,
As is where it is.
I'd like to see that go out to the airport if we're gonna do this joint venture.
is it a compliment? Is it a courtesy vehicle?
It's a lot better than what's out there.
They have nothing.
No, they have a Lincoln Continental. I'm telling you, one of them.
Now I know why the mice wanna be in it, that's a nice
One of the windows is
car.
duct taped, there are mice in it,
yeah.
I mean, it's,
Lincoln
The
Continental.
mice have.
I believe it's a Lincoln Continental.
We agree.
It's a boat, let's put it like that. No four-wheel drive, it's probably I think it's probably a rear-wheel
Lincoln's
drive.
Is that negotiable?
The
Sanders or what?
mice won't even go in this Ford or.
Gary, is that price negotiable or what?
That's the low book on it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
see.
Yeah, book is between 12 or,
12.4 or what?
yeah.
This was
something like that.
whose
15,
vehicle?
something.
Tires,
Gary, whose vehicle was this?
Pardon me?
Was this Chris's vehicle?
Joseph's, yeah.
And whose was it before Joseph?
Damien,
Damien?
No, Cunningham. Yeah,
Yeah, no negotiating there, I don't remember how they.
Tires are good, they're probably all of 50%, you know, on it, maybe 60. Actually, I think the front one's almost brand new.
Yeah, it's got like a new radiator and
yeah, look at that.
a lot of stuff done to it.
I don't know, I guess it makes sense to just keep a vehicle
I
that's
think
already in the county fleet, it's not really costing we're just basically
Change
supplementing the
parts.
sheriff's budget, I mean, they
Yeah.
already own it, they paid for it, it's already paid for it. It's been maintained well, I would make the motion that the county keep the sheriff's department Tahoe for the agreed upon price of $12,000.
12,400.
Selling price is 12,000, so.
Yeah.
I would
The
second
price
that
of new
motion.
vehicles is getting outrageous. I looked at our inventory and our invoices, and for 5 years, they've gone up $5,000 every year, $20,000. I mean, it's, yeah. crazy.
So there's a motion by Magrum, second by Gardner. Any other discussion, guys?
Well, I just wanna say that I was on the commission when we decided to go with the first county vehicle,
Okay.
cause Emmons County never had one before that. I think it's been successful. I think giving the employees the opportunity to not have to use their personal vehicles for a lot of things that just, You know, I don't require my guys to use their personal vehicles on the job, I supply them with a vehicle or I comp them mileage, and honestly, it's just simpler to give them a vehicle that's got consistent insurance, consistent maintenance, so I think it's been a successful program, every county around us does it.
Is it?
I think putting a couple reliable vehicles like these Tahoes that are four-wheel drive, and I think is a good thing, so,
Yeah,
just for the sake of discussion, I think it's a smart move, so.
Anything else to say, guys? Nope. Not? Who's all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then what do we do with the old one? You should decide that too. What do you wanna do with the old one?
Well, don't you gotta put that for auction if you're gonna sell it? Like, I don't think we can just sell it to anybody, can we? Cause isn't that kinda like a county property type thing, or?
Craig Kitson it just asked me, told me yesterday he'd be interested in it.
Okay.
Well, then, no.
I don't know,
So what do you have?
I know, like, I know
it's
the
not a
cell
question.
phone
We'll
bid.
probably have to table that for another discussion too then, cause
This vehicle?
What do we normally do with those?
I don't know, we don't normally, I don't think we've ever sold, it's the first one we ever had as a county vehicle, so now it's the first time we're ever selling one, so. I don't know, do you have to list it for auction, is it one of them didn't buy things, or can you just sell it outright, I don't know. That was the only.
I don't know.
That's
I'd
a
say
true.
we'll probably just table it for now and make sure we do it
Okay.
the right way, I don't think it's something we gotta take care of.
So put it on next month's agenda, so then
Okay,
get an
let's
answer.
figure out what the right policy is. I have no problem selling it outright, I just don't know if the law has a problem with it, so.
Yeah. Cause you know it'll come back.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next one is, item G, establish precinct boundaries and designate polling places for the 2026 primary and general elections.
That's a North Dakota centric code where the commissioners have to establish the polling places and the precincts. And I sent you guys out a list of what I usually use. And then what I did, instead of having just, I have the 3 polling places, the courthouse, the Hazelton City Hall, and the Strasburg Blue Room. And I utilize them as voting centers, and the reason why I do that is so that anybody in the county can go to any one place and vote. They don't have to go to a certain
Okay.
place.
Yeah,
Do
that's
we
good.
pay each one of these voting sites? Do they get a fee? They don't.
You know, there was one time where one of them asked to get paid a little bit, so we paid him, but normally he doesn't. He hasn't for the last few years now.
Okay.
Well, the courthouse and the Hazelton Hall, yeah.
Right.
No, we don't.
So
Well,
anyway,
he's working that room, he's got a grocery store in the back.
He usually moves,
Does he?
yeah.
Okay.
so any of us could stop at any of these places and vote, right, Mark?
One place. One
Oh, yeah,
place.
not at all 3, yeah.
You know,
I don't know
with,
where.
We got that cleared up.
with our polling pads now, you
Yeah.
couldn't get by with it, you couldn't still
Yeah,
go
right.
vote here and then go to Strasburg and vote, that's not gonna work, but yeah.
Okay.
But anybody, you can go anywhere in the county to vote, you don't have to have there's no designated polling place anywhere for it.
Okay.
so if I'm doing a broken water line in Strasburg, I can go into the
Yes.
room and vote that day, though, is that, well, that's what Jim means?
Yes.
Yeah, right. I don't want to vote at all 3.
Jim's doing broken water lines now?
Well, yeah, I have.
So do we need to have a motion on this?
You have to have a motion to
Okay.
approve the precincts.
The
and
3
the-
sites.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to
I'll
approve the
make a
3 sites?
motion.
Jim Adams, a second to it. Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item H, Travis Schaefer, questions about salary structure.
Morning,
Morning, Travis.
I'm Travis Schaefer. For those of you that don't know me, for the last 2 years I've been operating a motor grader out of the Hazelton shop. Prior to that, I was employed at Burley County for 14 years doing the same job, running the same piece of equipment. With my prior experience and the new grade step classification we adopted, I am requesting to be considered to move to a step 5. I am already proposed to move to a step 2 next year. For my 2 years of experience here, and I would also like to be considered for the 3 steps for my prior experience that were discussed in the step guidelines.
Anybody have anything to say? So on the steps, what are you looking as far as increase? I don't have the step and grade in front of me. I guess I do.
I mean, like I say, I was proposed to go to a step 2 next year, and I was gonna ask for like a step 5. So it's a little under $2 an hour, the difference between them two. And I mean, I'm at a total of like 16 years of experience now, so.
Have
So
you,
I presume you were put there on account of your starting in Emmons County, right?
Well, when I initially started, I had asked Skylar about it, and he said that, you guys were working on this step thing, and that, you know, if I could at least get through my probation period, and it'd probably be more like a year, because of when you guys voted on stuff, but he said it was just to wait, you know, if I could wait, he wanted to get the guys that were already here where they should be, and before he did anything with me, and that being as you guys voted this through, I know I had talked to you, Miller, like last year after Skylar left, and just questioned it, and you know, I kinda just put it on hold because I knew you guys were working on this stuff, so that's kinda why I'm bringing it up now, is because you voted on it and put it through, and, you know.
Did you discuss with your superintendent?
Yeah, a little bit, you know, I called him on the phone and stuff, and he basically wanted me to come down here, you know, have you guys discuss it, and I know, like, even on your, even on the step thing, it says that a new employee is eligible for steps 1 through 4, depending on experience, you know, training and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, you know, the work group, you were, I think the two of you guys were on there. Must have had some kind of methodology to place people where you did.
well, when we discussed it, it's when, we moved from a different county to start all over again.
That was discussed,
We discussed that, right, Gary?
You start all over in the second grade.
Yeah, prior experience for other jurisdictions doesn't count for longevity for Emmons County.
Okay.
When you hire, the way the guidelines are written, which was adopted, is when you initially hire somebody, you can take into account their experience in that type of work, right? When they're initially hired. Now, we just adopted this. Okay, so that, I don't think anybody's looking at turning the clock back and how far back you're gonna go for current employees. This was going forward, not going backwards on this whole thing. So if you have a potential applicant applying for a job and they have years of experience in a job-related field that they're applying for, you can use that experience at their initial employment, either grade 1 for someone with no prior experiences, up to a grade 4 with experience or training, or, you know, in that similar field. And if they wanted to be, you know, hired at a grade higher than step 4, or excuse me, grade 4, or step 4, the commission has to approve that. But the department head can make that decision, grade, you know, step 1 through step 4, based on experience and training and things like that at their initial employment. My concern is if you consider this, then everybody's experience has to be reassessed and reevaluated going back. And how far back are you gonna go?
Yeah.
This whole thing was put in place going forward.
Yeah.
You know, I've got offered the prior experience, are we gonna now reassess all that? I just, yeah. And the current grade and step that they were put at today was based on their salary, okay? And everybody was rounded up. Nobody went backwards.
Okay.
So even if you had an employee that wasn't looking at, maybe a new employee that had been here less than a year or less than 2 years, they still saw some type of increase because we rounded up. It might be $500 a year, it might be $1,000 a year, but we rounded everybody up based on their current salary when this was looked at. So nobody went backwards. But the idea of you know, the department head having an option to put them at a starting grade 1 with somebody with no prior experience, no prior training, possibly a grade 1 in that step, right? And, or step I should say. But if somebody comes to the table with 5 years, 10 years of experience, someone like Travis, okay, they could potentially start at a step 4 in that grade. But this was before this was in place. So do we want to turn the clock back and reassess all the employees that have prior experience and reassess everybody? I think if you do it, and previously, the commission had denied those previous requests before this was in place. You had 1 or 2 employees that came from other counties. I think Lemoore County was one, and they wanted their experience in Lemoore County to be adopted here, and it was denied. So we've already set precedents with employees that came from another jurisdiction with prior experience. So again, you're gonna have to reassess everybody. If you make, and again, this is not personal, but the whole purpose of this was to have some standards in place and some guidelines. And that whole deal with the 1 through 4 steps was for initial employment and to take consideration, okay?
Well, I guess, my issue with that would be, as of now, then, if you had somebody like me that had the same or even less experience, they could come in and potentially get hired for more than I'm even making. So, I almost think you have to go back in a way. If you're gonna offer it to one, you should offer it to all. And I don't know, how many people have experience here, at that level? That's quite a bit of experience to be, in all reality, like, on your notes on here, like, step 1 through 4 is where you start, step 9 is midpoint in your career, step 18 is close to retirement. So, with 16 years of experience, I should be closer to midpoint in my career, which is like a step 9. Somewhere in there, and basically this is, I know you guys adopted this from Burley, and I know that was kind of like a state average. Where you're placed in that grade is your job description, so that's like a state average of, beginning, midpoint, and salary, so.
Travis, I don't disagree with you. I think experience, whether you're blading a road in Burley or Morton or Ward or Cass or Linton, experience is experience. What I will say is, this is kind of bad timing because we already approved the budget. But we also did approve a longevity budget for some people, and how that was sold to this commission was, you can't replace experience, right? So we gave longevity steps to people that have been with this county for a certain period of time because of their experience. I think it's hard to go back to a guy with 16 years of experience blading roads and say, we're not gonna pay you for your experience because it was done in a different county. It's still blading roads, right? Let's face it. Blading a road in any county is the same as blading a road in this county. The substrate might be a little different, but you're still blading a road. Going back to its bad timing, because we've already approved the budget, in my opinion, we hired a superintendent and in my opinion, that's between you and your supervisor, who then brings it to us to move you up to where he feels fit. I don't know how your performance is, so for me to say your 16 years of experience puts you way above the guys that just started, I can't say that. And I would assume it does, but assuming is a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just bad timing, and I'm not saying that you're not worth that. I just don't know, after we've approved the budget, if this is something we can do before we start the next budget in June and July and August. But I don't disagree with you. I'm saying we gave longevity bonuses for people, and it was sold to us as experiences. You can't buy experience. Well, you got a guy with 16 years, so I'm saying that more to the board than anybody. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, and as far as the timing, I kinda debated that, you know, I even, talked to Magrum a little bit, and it's kinda like, how do you really come in and argue something that you guys didn't even vote on, and that's kinda why I waited, you know?
Right, and I'm not hammering on you, I'm just saying it's just kinda bad timing.
Yeah, I didn't really know how to go about it, but yeah, I thought it, you know.
We're all kinda treading this hole to get it passed and get it implemented. And this first year is probably not gonna come without some people that are hurt or feel like, you know, I'll be honest, that we gotta get through this first year and then we kinda know where we're at. We have our footing and then we can.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like I was saying, I kinda, you know, waited, been here 2 years already too, so, you know, I would like to kinda come to something on it.
And I would, if I could speak, I would agree with Commissioner Gardner, you know, experience is definitely worth something in my book too. But if, and I agree, the whole timing thing, right? I mean, we made, as a committee, we made a recommendation based strictly on their salary. The recommendations then were sent out countywide to all the department heads, and at that point, if there was gonna be some adjustments, there was that month or 2 months, whatever it was, to make any changes. I mean, if I, department head, or Russ is a department head, or any other body that oversees somebody, if there was gonna be some changes, that was kind of the time to look at those changes. I'm a firm believer in somebody with experience, and again, it's also performance-based. Again, I don't know if you're a good operator or not, but again, experience is worth something. And that's where the department head has that flexibility to start somebody out either at a step 1 or a step 4 based on training and experience and so forth. But again, I kind of agree, the whole timing thing after the budget's been approved and everything's been adopted, it's tough to go back, unfortunately, but that's not to say it can't be reassessed maybe at the next budget cycle, if those adjustments for experience weren't made. Again, between each step, it's a 2% increase. So three step would be a 6%.
Well, I think the big thing, I know like Travis did contact me, I mean, the main question, which is probably the underlying tone of this conversation, is does your longevity count outside of Emmons County if it's a similar job, which, yeah, Burley County, running a blade in Burley County, probably even running it right up to the Emmons County line makes it a pretty similar job, but I disagree with Mr. Gardner on the question of experience is experience, because I can call Al Holm or John Ibach or Gar Schmidt or any number of these guys that have been here longer, and I can tell them a name down somewhere by Westfield, and I probably don't have to give them directions where it is. Or there's certain things they just know after a big snowstorm, like that place is gonna be a bad spot, where someone with 30 years of experience who hasn't ran the route before, only ran it a few times, probably doesn't understand that. So I would say the longevity for the people that have been here is more so an indication of their internal knowledge of Emmons County and how it operates. So I would say someone that's been here for 16 years versus someone who's been here for 16 years, there is a difference.
And I think that's where the longevity was based.
Of course, and it's not sit here and wrangle with anybody or pick fights or say that Travis's 10 to 15 years of experience doesn't mean anything. I mean, it obviously does. I mean, he understands.
It meant more to Burley than Emmons.
Right, and Travis's 16 years of working with Burley County probably means more than working 16 years for a construction company that traveled across the country and didn't work in public right away into private work. So it all means something different. That's why the longevity was isolated to just Emmons County. You're trying to put it in a box, and that's the box. You're here for this long, you see those benefits.
And I agree, longevity and experience are two different things.
Right, and
You can have a 20-year Emmons County employee that spent 10 years in one department and 10 years in another department, because we've had some employees that have transferred from department to department. But again, that's not experience. Experience is something different. Like, so whether you come from the private sector in construction or another county in the road department, that's your experience.
Well, and I think the other thing that we probably need to just caution ourselves with the grade and step is to not get caught up so much on the grade and step, but where the actual wage is and where the people are within those grade and steps. A grade 9 is a guideline to where, like you said, you want to be at somewhere that's in the middle of the career. Doesn't mean that if you're not at an 8-9 that you're not where you need to be. If everybody that's on kind of the same level for experience, workmanship, and responsibilities is all at an 8-2 or an 8-3, then the grade and step is doing its job. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm supposed to be at an 8-9. Well, if you're getting $30 an hour and the 4 other guys that are kind of viewed as equals to you are getting about $30 an hour, then the grade and step's doing its job. That's what we want it to do. We're not trying to put people in a box. We're trying to isolate responsibilities, experience, workmanship. The only people that I see above Travis are the people that qualified for longevity or have different responsibilities. Everybody that's in this operator 2 CDL laborer group with more than 6 months of experience is all in about an 8-1, 8-2 area, which I still feel is that's the proper spot it needs to be. So I wouldn't view it as everybody that's at an 8-2 should be at an 8-9. I'm seeing that everybody that's on the same page should be on the same page, and that's what it looks like it's done here. So that would be my argument against it. Not that Travis doesn't deserve it, not that, but I compare him to a Cody Renner, Mike Wickenheiser, Jerry Laulinger. They're all in that probably middle of the group. They have experience, but they're not quite leadership roles, and all those guys are in about the same spot. So I really feel like it probably is in the right spot. I mean, if there are adjustments, like you said, the department head has some responsibility in making sure guys are doing it that way, but I don't look at any of these wages and look at anybody that's either underpaid or really overpaid. It looks like everybody's about where they need to be for their responsibilities and their experience. And that's what the grade and step was supposed to accomplish. Not that we had one guy that started out, because the big thing we were trying to avoid was you do bring a guy like Travis on, who's got a ton of experience, all this stuff, and he's coming in at the same pay or maybe even higher than someone that's been here 20 years that does the same job, because that guy started when he was getting $10 an hour and he's slowly gotten 1%, 2%. Well, now, new hires, you're generally trying to match a market and trying to bring someone on, and so we were bringing people on and not rewarding those that were here that had those experiences too. So I would say the grade and step is probably doing its job, and over the course of the next few years, you're probably gonna naturally see adjustments to move yourself higher based on your responsibilities, your experience, and your workmanship. So that would be my argument to say that.
I guess I get what you're saying as far as, you know, the guys that have been here for 20 years and stuff, but I kinda look at where they're at too, and they're probably at like steps 8 and 9, and I'm not saying I should be up there with them, but I would think halfway between somebody starting out and where they're at, which would be a 5.
Well, I'm not saying
so-
you're wrong or you're like out of line to ask that.
Yeah.
I don't think that, but I would say that, you know, cause like Cody came from Campbell County, probably in a similar situation as you then too, so that would be part of a process to maybe reevaluate more than just you're probably doing the right thing by bringing it to our attention that maybe some of those need to be reevaluated. And now is probably not the time to do it, just because we're outside of kind of a normal budget cycle. And that's why I'm not gonna be like, you have no business being, you're perfectly fine in it. I always say, if you can't advocate for yourself, no one else will either, so.
Right.
Nothing you're doing here is wrong, I'm not gonna walk out of here thinking you're out of line being here. I don't maybe necessarily agree with your entire argument, but at the same time, maybe there needs to be a little more segregation from some of these spots, and that's kind of where I think we all thought we would be. You know, we get through this, we get going, I don't think this is unfair, it might be a little bit off, and between the road superintendent and the commissioners and everybody, there's some evaluation that can keep going on, and maybe it can be adjusted. I don't think I would say no forever, but I'd probably say no right now. That would be my opinion.
Well, and that's kinda why I talked to you previously, and even Miller, you know, I kinda brought it to your attention before, you know, and was hoping to get something, but like you say, how do you do anything about something that ain't voted on?
Right.
I guess was what I was looking at, you know, and then it was kind of a bad situation with Skylar leaving, and then, you know, Russ didn't start for a while after that, and I didn't really even have anyone to talk to about it, so.
Well, and that's, I guess we're just getting back to it, cause you did talk to me, and I asked just internally what everybody's thoughts were on the longevity, and it was a consensus that it wasn't really meant to be for anything outside Emmons County, so that, well, I'm not gonna go and bring it up and make it sound like you're making a big deal out of something when it was gonna be agreed upon, that it really wasn't gonna happen. And the other thing is I don't really feel like this is out of line enough to just totally like not approve it before a budget. I felt like it was fair enough that we could move forward, and that's why I voted to approve it as it was. It doesn't mean it isn't up for evaluation, but
Yeah.
it was fair enough and good enough, in my opinion, to approve. That's why I went with it.
And I mean, I understand that, and that's even what you told me then, was that, you know, there's gonna be case by case basis,
Right.
like in my circumstances, so. That you need to, you know, go over or whatever, and, you know, that's why I'm here.
Right, and I would say too, if people don't bring it up, you assume there's no problem, so you're doing, in my opinion, if you went to your superintendent said come to the commissioners, then all this was the right way to go about it. You know, if you didn't ask Russ and you just came here, then I'd be like, well, you probably skipped a step. And so if that was kind of the agreement, was that maybe Russ didn't know what to do and wanted us to make a decision, and you're here, I don't think anybody's gonna hold you against any ill will or nothing, so just, you know, try something that needs to just continue to be evaluated, and maybe look forward in the future if some of these things need to get adjusted.
Okay. Well, I mean, even if you can't do it now, so when's the next, in June?
June would be the preliminary budget, so that's when the
Budget,
suggestions for budget changes start to happen, and then between June and October is where the decisions start getting made on what the taxes are gonna be, with the, you know, if there needs to be cuts, or if those increases are gonna be okay, so really, you're probably up for evaluation between now and June, as far as if there's gonna be any changes to your pay.
Then your department head suggests, or anybody's department head suggests a step.
I mean, that's the first stretch is gonna be inside the department.
Right.
And the department heads do the evaluations, do you not?
Right.
Correct.
Have everybody been doing their evaluations every year?
I
As
do.
department heads of
I
the
can't speak
employees?
for everybody else, but.
Well, and I think evaluations should kinda coincide with your budget process, that's where you're,
Yeah.
if Russ feels like you're doing the job you need to be doing, and you're on the same page with the grade and step scenario, then that needs to be a part of the preliminary budget, and then going forward, you know, as far as, I'd like to see these guys in this spot, these guys in this spot, and then if that number comes together and it doesn't totally throw a budget off, then that's where the consideration comes in, and are we gonna approve these department increases, or not? So it's all kind of a part of the process, so I'd say now is the beginning part of the process, cause between now and June is where those decisions are probably gonna get made for the preliminary budget.
Yeah, I think Russ, that would be good, start a documented evaluation process, you know, and, that's what you could base any moves and steps on, you know, at the beginning of the budget cycle, you know. So now is the time to start on that, actually, really a little bit.
That is in process, and like I talked to Travis a while back, the timing of this whole situation is not right. And there needs to be some things, to start with, the stepping grade system was definitely needed. we needed something to start with and go off of, so these people went through a lot of work to establish that. I think Gary kind of said it himself, that that's not saying that everything is cut and dried and set in stone. We need to adjust, make changes as needed.
Yeah.
And I think if we could hold off with this for a little bit here to try to wiggle through some of this, I think would be the best option for everybody. And that's kind of what I told Travis. If he did not agree with that, he has the option to come in front of you guys, talk to you, and I think that's where we are right now, so.
Yeah.
Well, and I would just say, speaking from a commissioner's point, I don't think we wanna create an environment where people don't feel like they can speak.
No.
You know, like, so I think this is fine, you know, I think the proper channel is to go through your department head, and again, like I said, Russ suggested you come here, and that's why you're here, I think that's perfectly fine, I don't wanna create an environment where we're like, well, we shouldn't be talking about this isn't our job, like, we wanna have an open discussion, we wanna make sure people are getting compensated properly, if there's mistakes being made, they need to get brought up, so I just wanna make that feel like you don't leave here going, oh, I never should've came in here, like, that should not be the attitude, it's just that, even if you maybe don't get what you're requesting, I respect you for coming in, and I think it was fine that you came in and asked for what you asked for, like I said, again, if you don't advocate for yourself, nobody else will either, so.
Well, and, you know, I guess, even if it was something that got pushed off till June, I don't, you know, can you guys make a decision on something today and then it just came in at that point, or, cause like I say, I did ask about it when I started, I know that was with a different superintendent, you know, and I asked about it prior to you guys voting on it, and, you know, and I'm asking about it now, and it just seems like it just keeps getting deferred and deferred and deferred, and it's something that, to me, it is not necessarily gets evaluated, because this can go on for a new hire, so you don't necessarily know that. And if you want evaluations, I can give you all of my evaluations from Berkeley. All the years of it, and most of it exceeds expectations. I also have multiple training and all that, you know, so I think I would like to see you guys at least make a decision on something like, if you have so many years of experience, it's worth a step, you know, and especially experience like this. Like I say, it's the exact same job, running the exact same piece of equipment. Emmons County has 9 motor graders. They're the only piece of equipment that's expected to run year-round. So you're looking for motor grader experience when you're looking to hire for this position. For sure, that is your #1 experience. So even if you can't put this in place for next year, can we at least do something that, you know, gets put in place maybe in June, or?
So I guess I would say we're still working through that process, and the department heads are working through that process, so I don't think there's anything that we can probably commit to today that doesn't jeopardize what we're trying to work forward to. I think now it's in the hands of the department heads to try and feel out where this process lands for them. Some of them have a better grasp than others, and I would say Russ probably doesn't, no offense, but just because this is very brand new, and then Russ is also not here when it was created, so Russ is learning on the fly, so it's probably gonna take a little time to see where he wants people to settle out, and I don't know if the commissioners are gonna land on whether or not they feel someone is unfairly being compensated if we're gonna step over department head. I think we can, I don't know if we will, so I can just tell you, me personally, I don't really feel like there's a lot wrong with this at this point. Like, I don't know if there's something that really needs to get fixed right now at this point, that I would commit to some decision to give someone a promotion, like right now, that probably needs more evaluating, and like the policy that the committee put in place is probably a great starting point, and then from there, if the departments have little nuances inside there, as long as it's within reason, I don't know if that's something, you know, we're gonna consider or not, if we're gonna have one unified plan for every department, or if some departments have different categorizations and certifications. I mean, that's all still kind of in the works, and so I feel like this grade and step is not out of line enough to not just let that process keep working out.
Yeah.
So I would say I wouldn't change anything, I'm just gonna give you my blunt opinion if you're looking for an answer, and I think it's fine the way it is for now, so.
Well, I think it's a big ask to ask us to overstep Russ in this particular instance where, we can't speak for how well you're doing with your experience. Or Cody, but he can see that. I still think it has to land back on the supervisors to say, you know, I think these guys with their prior experience deserve a one-step increase compared to the other guys, or a two-step and they get one. I still think it's, right now, it's not our place as commissioners to overstep the supervisors, because I don't know, I know you have experience, but I don't know your performance. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like a student or an athlete, we're not all the same.
Like I say,
Well, I'm not saying, I'm not saying that you're not doing it, but it would be Russ's job to bring that to us and say, you know what? His experience does show compared to the guys that don't have that experience, and I think that he deserves this. That's where we're, touching on what Aaron's saying, I think that's where we're still trying to develop where we're going with it. I don't think, like I said, I just don't, my feeling is I don't think it's the commissioner's position to overstep the supervisors on a brand new pay scale that we just implemented and start trying to make these big changes without knowing how it's gonna work. And I'm not saying, Travis, you don't deserve, I said it 15 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago, I believe experience is worth something. I do believe that. Because if you run a motor grader in Burley and you run a motor grader here, you're running a motor grader. I don't disagree with what Commissioner Magrum said. Longevity in the community, he can give you a place, you know, Russ grew up here, he can give you a place he needs you to go and you know where it's at. That does make a difference too, but I think experience is different than knowing where somebody lives in Emmons County. I think they're a little different. So, I just, like I said, I don't feel like it's a commissioner's job to overstep the supervisor on a brand new pay scale, until we work through some of this stuff.
No way. I won't do it as city commissioner, override the superintendent.
Yeah. Not right now.
I don't know what happens out there.
Right.
I have no clue. 16 years, granted, I respect you for that. But every individual with 16 years of experience, everyone's different, totally. And that's the way I'm gonna lead it with what I have to say to anybody out there. It's no different than an athlete or a kid in school. They may have 16 years of schooling, but what did they accomplish while they were there? An athlete, 16 years on a team, what did he do? I mean,
well, you're never gonna get that with any new hire exactly, without, you know, knowing them. So, I
so it's
guess,
up to the superintendent.
Yeah, that's where I would leave it too. I mean, at the beginning of the budget cycle, Russ can look at that, and, if he's willing to move you up that, I mean, we're not gonna argue.
okay.
But
Well,
we're
I
not
guess
gonna
what
say-
I would ask at this point is that you guys kinda can, like you said, you're gonna consider some of this stuff, you know, with this grade step thing. Like experience, it should be across the board. So, say there's somebody wants to come to work in the auditor's office with 16 years of experience. Yes, they're gonna be at a different grade because of their job description, but they should still get the same number of steps as the person in the road department with that level of experience. That's what this is supposed to do, is make everything equal across the county. So it would involve you guys to make, you know, some basic, like 4 years of experience is worth a step or something like that, you know? And that's what I'd like to see you guys do, so that it's, whether they're in the sheriff's department or wherever, if they come with that many years of experience, that it's valued the same in every department. So that would still go with Russ, yes, but it would also involve you guys too, because he's not gonna make a decision about something in the sheriff's department. And that's what the whole grade step structure is supposed to do, is make it fair across the county.
Yeah,
So I'd like to see you guys do something with that, you know, and I don't know if,
We gotta move on.
All right, well, thanks for your time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Travis.
Thanks for coming in.
I think that's a real good conversation, and Travis makes a good point too, but it does come back to every department head. You know, and we've had prior conversations like about employee evaluations, but again, job descriptions are different. What goes on in my office is far different than what goes on in the road department. It's tough to have a uniform evaluation when job descriptions are so different, you know, so their job description and what they assess and evaluate is different than in my office. You know, I'm gonna look at probably 12 different things in my office when I do an assessment where, based on different things, where the road department's gonna be a completely different assessment. Because we talked about that, like having a uniform assessment form, but how do you do that from? There's too many variances there to do that. And again, job performance, any increase should be performance-based for anybody, any department.
Yeah.
But it's
That's how I
something
look
that,
at
I mean, it's a good conversation, I think that could
It's a healthy
be discussed at the next budget cycle, that if any department head wants to make some adjustments based on experience, based on performance, that's the time to make those adjustments. You know, timing, like I said, is the bad part right now, everything's just been kind of set in concrete with the budgets and everything else, and we're just starting the new budget next, after today, basically, so.
Well, we can look at it then, Travis.
Thanks, Travis, for coming in, appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Russ? Look at that Brady Adams coming in for a long.
Good morning, guys. Basically a little follow-up here, the snow kind of changed our pattern a little bit, so we're out moving snow. Most guys should be finishing up, some are done, they moved over to other routes to help out. So we should be, by Wednesday here, we should be pretty well caught up with snow removal issues. Going from there, we're gonna move into some maintenance items until the weather hopefully straightens out, I guess, so. That is the plan on that side. Other than that, we did sell some equipment out there that we hadn't been using, an old army truck, our old mower, a pickup. We did generate, out of that auction, we did very well. We actually got more for some of it than we actually paid. So we ended up receiving $42,600 and some odd dollars total. And by the time they took their commission and stuff out, we got a check for $38,000 some odd dollars. And what I'm asking you now is I've been negotiating some stuff on some equipment to buy back another piece of equipment that we're short of and in need of. And I was asking, or would ask you now if I can, or Marlis can appropriate that money that we got from Steffes that was already road department money, if we could put that back into the equipment purchase fund so we can still use that before year's end. Is that an option, Marlis, to do?
So, you know, how the appropriations work is, you know, you appropriate every budget cycle, you appropriate so much. What they can, at the end of the year, if you went over your appropriation, they just amend your budget. So that check that John brought in this morning, I'll put that in the unorganized road districts fund, but I don't put it like in equipment or anything. I just put it in like the miscellaneous, and the money is there to spend it then.
So,
For him to feed off of.
Yeah.
Okay.
so if they would okay this, it would just take effect the first of the year is kind of what you're saying? Or,
Yeah, it'll stay in the road district fund. Any money, any unused money, any money that's in there at the end of the year carries over to the next year.
okay, so basically if we made a purchase then, it's gonna show a deficit in our equipment purchase thing, but it's not a big deal kind of,
No, if
as
you
long
don't
as the
go
money.
over, if you don't go over your road district, budget, completely.
Everything.
Because you might go over in one line item, but not in the other.
Right,
So if you
so,
don't go over your appropriation in the whole unorganized road district fund, then you don't even need to, amend it.
okay,
Because that happens with every budget. Sometimes you go over in one line item, but you don't go over in the other. the budget.
Still there in this.
Yeah.
So in a case like this, when we get that money like that, it still stays within the road department, if I'm understanding.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
probably put it in this afternoon already, and that money, whatever's left in your road district at the end of the year, that same dollar amount carries over to the first of the year.
Okay,
There's
that's,
no transferring out or anything like that, we don't do any of that stuff.
then I guess I don't need a approval, I guess I was seeking that, but if that's the way it works, we're all good then, so.
Yeah,
Other than that,
What do you wanna
I,
buy?
huh?
I was waiting to hear what you wanted to buy. Still knows.
What we're working on, and there's a long list, what we're looking at needs, and, we were on a schedule with the skid steer that every year we cycled in a new skid steer for around $5,000. With the absence of the road supervisors, the other guys did not wanna make that decision amongst themselves. So we're looking to get back on track with another skid steer with this money is what we're looking at doing.
To get on that yearly program again.
Yes, and the reason being is the reason I'm asking for it, it was already money that we had, you know, out there and stuff like that. We took some excess equipment we're not using. Basically, it was a wash to get back on cycle is how I'm looking at it. Maybe that's wrong, but
It'll cost that kind of money to get back into that program, to trade that 2-year-old skid. Holy crap, versus what, $5,000 normally?
they were on a cycle right around the 5,000 mark, which is, in today's world, is kind of a no-brainer to pass that option up. But yes, if you extend it out a few years and you get up to a certain amount of hours, it really jumps up there. And we did check multiple places and stuff like that as well, so.
How many hours is on that skid?
Right around 700.
And it's a 2024, 3?
No, I think it's 22, 22 model, I believe, so it's a few years old already.
Jesus, man, for that low Howard equipment.
yeah, no, yeah, I believe that, I believe that.
Can you sell it outright, you think, or no?
We would have that option if that's what you'd like to do. We do own it. It is a county machine. It's paid for. I guess that would be a decision you guys would have to, if that's what you'd rather do with it.
Aren't you better off doing that? From you guys over the years of experience. Try to sell it outright or not.
So it is, we own it, huh? The county owns it.
And they did offer us a,
Buyout?
they're giving us 40,000 on a trade-in.
What do they retail for?
I'm not sure on the retail on that exact.
5 probably,
Do they?
cause what are you looking at, like an S76 with tracks?
There was an S76, actually the cheapest one was from Cat. So we were looking at a 265 Cat.
So you're looking at like a 3,000 pound machine or something as far as weight lift, I mean,
Wait,
you're lifting about 3,000-ish.
Basically the same specs as what we have with that 650. We went with the same, as close as we could get within each department or manufacturer.
so what do they have for lift capacity, 3,500?
Well, it depends, like you said, it depends on which model, but if you're looking at like somewhere in the 260s or, you know, you're probably looking at like a 2,800 pound, 2,700 pound.
Yeah,
Not enough, is it?
That's a pretty good sized machine, it's probably under def specifications.
Well, I got an S330 with 3,300 to 3,500 pounds.
Well-
And anything smaller, you got trouble with totes or anything,
okay, then
unless they're weighted.
if we wanna jump up and we need more money.
Well, the
Basically,
track sells too,
that's
though.
the way it is.
Does that help a lot?
If you're on a track machine with the same lifting capacity as a wheeled machine, you have a little more balance, you can lift,
Okay.
you probably get another 100, 200 pounds out of it, cause it just,
This one seems to work, the one we have seems to have worked from everyone says within our means. Of course, there's always that exception when you could use a bigger or smaller one, but we're trying to stay within what we had as far as money, lift capacity, all the above, so.
well, I would say probably, I mean, what Russ is saying is probably true, they're offering somewhere in that 50, 60,000 for a trade-in on a machine that's probably retailing at 95 to 110, depending on the specs and size.
I haven't checked into the market value of it on the open market. I don't know, based on what I know, I don't know if it's gonna be a whole lot more than what they're offering in trade. you know, but then there too, you have to front the money to buy the one. You might sit on this one for a few months to sell it. I mean, it's totally up to you guys,
I
whatever.
mean, I'll just say with my opinion with having a track skid loader myself, I mean, 700 hours is very low hours. If you're gonna take that kind of a beating on a trade, you're almost better off to just keep it for a couple more years and just really bite the bullet in a couple, you know what I'm saying? Like, at 700 hours and it's 2 to 3 years old, we're putting about 200 hours a year on it-ish.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, realistically, in 10 years, it's gonna have 2,500 to 3,000 hours on it, which still is, I mean, it's not that many hours, like, cause right now what's happening is this skid loader is now in the plateau. It's, you know, that 5,000 a year keeps you ahead of trade-in all the time. We didn't do it, now we've fallen into this massive stop, now you're in like a plateau. This machine's gonna probably be worth what it's worth for a few years, unless it gets abused or hours really rack up. We put 200 hours a year on this thing for 5 more years, we're probably gonna lose 5,000 bucks. Like, I think we're probably in the window where we should probably just keep it.
You might not lose anything with inflation.
Agreed.
Okay, but then you run into the warranty issue, you run into this. I mean, whatever you guys recommend, I'll do. If you wanna keep it, we'll keep it, but like I said, we've had trouble with it, we might continue to have trouble with it, it might be a great thing, and yes, it's gonna be worth what it is when we do sell it.
What have you had issues with it?
We've had some hydraulic issues, we got a windshield wiper issue, a door issue, the air conditioner is sporadic, and it doesn't have any warranty on it, so do we wanna dump money into it? We can.
The warranty's up now, right?
Yes, it's off warranty, yes.
I guess my feeling is it's up to you. I'm not gonna say. It's up to Russ and
Well, I just feel like if you're gonna pay for 30 to 40,000 in trade-in on it, that's a lot of money you can use for repairs on a machine that's only got 700 hours on it. If this was my business and I had a machine like that, that's my decision I would make. I would just keep it, cause it's not like we're putting 500-600 hours a year on it. Like the motor graders, I can see, we rack them up, we use them hard. You know, something like a skid loader, I mean, we use it, when we do use it, I'm sure it's irreplaceable, but, I mean, at 200 hours a year, even if we started using it for 300 hours a year, that's not a lot of hours. I don't know if it's necessary, since we're so far behind. I was all in favor of the $5,000 every year, that was a fine deal, but if we've fallen this far behind, it's like, I think we should almost just ride it out for a while. I don't know if there's a lot of depreciation to be had on it between here and the next couple of years, so. I would think it'd be good to probably just maybe try utilizing it somewhere else then.
And again, that's why we went through the effort of rounding up the money that we were sitting on to justify this, is where I came in with this, but.
What else can we use out there?
What do I mean, what else can we use?
Equipment versus, I mean, just other than the skid.
We need a dump truck, a mini X. We could use, a few other options as well. We could use some other different kind of packing devices, things like that, you know, and we're gonna be looking into that come this new budget. I was trying to, like I said, basically wash this one out and get us into a new machine here is what I was looking at doing.
And then keep trading every year, is that what your plan was?
As long as they have that program.
Within, you know, they don't, a lot of places went away with that program, but there again, it's if you get a good machine that seems to be working well, you don't have to worry about it so much. This one here, the operators seem to come in with different complaints depending who's operating it, with a little concern of this, concern of that, so we were just looking at possibly updating it, I guess is what the consensus was, but he's right, we can stick money into it and get by with it. I mean, that also is an option.
Next year, you're probably gonna get the same amount for it if you decide to trade it next year.
I wouldn't say the same amount, that's a perfect world, and
Well,
it never works like that in the business. That trade will go down, the price of a new one will go up.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works, you know, so.
Never stops.
No. So what do you do, Russ, if you wanna have some work done? Do you haul it up to Bismarck, or?
Depends on what it is, you know.
Otherwise, I mean, them guys are pretty proud of themselves when they come out working and stuff.
It is, yeah.
Well, you do a lot of it yourself in the beginning, not Russ?
We can, when you start getting into the computer sides of things and stuff, there's only so much you can do with it.
Yeah, you're right.
You have to haul it up there and have them work on it, you know?
Mr. Gardner, do you have anything?
No, I really don't. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
we have a super out there, and if that's
Yeah,
what he
that's
thinks he
what
wants to
I
do,
do.
then, I mean, I don't disagree with Aaron, you can stick a lot of stuff into a used piece of equipment if you have that extra money, but if it's a problem, warranty is nice too.
Yeah. I think it's your call.
your call, Russ, I think. That's
Your
my-
discretion, yeah. Good opinion, what Aaron put in, yeah, all great.
Yeah,
And I know where he's coming from too, I look at it my side too.
Right.
I got a machine with low hours, yes, it would cost me $1,000 per year for maintenance, you know?
He's definitely right, that kind of hours on a machine like that is nothing, you know? It shouldn't be having the issues that we are having, but it is what it is, so.
I had a 2016 tractor that had 810 hours on it. My opinion was like new.
Like I said, if we wouldn't have generated this little bit of extra income, not that we're looking to just throw it out the window, we were just looking to kind of wash it out with the money we have, we could get back into a new machine. And I guess in some view, it wouldn't cost us much, but it is money, I'm not saying it's not money, so.
right.
Okay, anything else, Russ?
Nope, that's all I got.
How's that shop coming in Strasburg?
That's coming along pretty good. He's got the walls pretty well up. He'll be starting on the sheeting possibly this week sometime and stuff, but it looks really nice in there. You can walk in there, it feels way different. You can feel the insulation and stuff working a lot better, so.
I was in there last night when the guys were still there, it looks good.
It should turn out pretty nice.
Russ, how does the gravel test out?
For the stuff that we got down there,
Yeah,
it tested out good. It's within the specs and everything, you know.
good.
It's a more on the clay side and stuff like that, which what we were after for the area we're gonna try to be putting it in. That's kind of where we were shooting for, to try to blend again. It would be nice to get out of the blending and just get good gravel in general, but till we get some of these areas straightened out, we're gonna have to kind of give and take a little bit on that deal.
Well, you gotta kinda take where you got it.
And that's that part too, yes.
Have we found anything up north, to the northwest? Nothing?
As far as gravel, no, we haven't been doing any testing or, we reached out to some testing things, places, everybody's, yeah, we'll put you on the list. It's hard, I mean, that's where a mini X would come in pretty nice to run around and dig some holes ourselves and try to come up with some stuff like that. We do have the bigger one, it's an inconvenience to run that around in some of these areas, you know, so.
Well, don't they drill?
Some
Don't they
do.
drill and test how much gravel?
Some do, some actually bring a backhoe and dig holes yet, and,
Okay. I thought it was all drilled, and then they know what kind of gravel they got and all that there.
like Fisher comes in and they usually bring a backhoe, they have a rubber tire backhoe that they run around with and
Okay, okay.
stuff like that, but yeah, it's, everybody's busy, that's just the way it is, you can call them, but they're months out, it seems like, for everything. Actually, the crushing part of it, they're out almost a year out from what everybody's been saying as far as the crushing of gravel, so,
The one
Well,
that just,
then it's good that we
yeah.
make use of some of that, you bet.
the
Yeah.
existing gravel that we got there to the south, I was approached on that. That was tested, was it not? And was there additional gravel to be mined?
At like Mike,
Yeah.
Mike Knoll,
Yes,
There is additional?
to my knowledge, there is what everybody says. There was some testing done in that area. They came up with no results, but the testers were new on the job. The company was fighting a massive turnaround with employees. They had some trouble with their drill, and It just was yeah,
Or test.
we need to get back in and retest it is what it amounts to,
Yeah.
that's where we need to go there.
That's a good spot too, you know.
Right, yeah, so, yeah,
I would just suggest too, I suggested it before, but don't overlook the ability to get some demo time or even some like long-term rentals when it comes to some of these specialized equipment. Like especially like a mini excavator, I mean, RDO, general equipment, almost all these guys would love to let you rent one for a month.
right,
I just, because something like a mini excavator, you're probably not gonna use much in the winter, I mean, with the frost and stuff, maybe instead of purchasing one, you can, I know like, I've rented a machine for up to a month, and every time you get further, like, for what it takes to rent it for a week, if you rent it for a month, it's cheaper per day, like, if you know you got 2-3 weeks worth of, like, just say gravel sampling, I'd give Scott at RDO or Lowell and the Cat and just be like, hey, you got a 5-6 ton machine I can use for 2-3 weeks?
right.
I mean, that'd be something to consider, at least before you even purchase one, just so you know, cause I mean, every brand's a little different and all that too, so. I mean, that'd be something to consider too, that way you don't have to try and drag a 20-ton excavator around every time you wanna pop a hole for some gravel.
Exactly, yeah, that's the inconvenience part of
You
it,
know,
right?
if a guy could look at renting something you can drag around for a week or two and just get it all done and then send it back.
Yeah.
I mean, with us and the amount of business we do with some of them places, they might not even charge, they might let you demo one for a week, I mean.
Yeah.
You know, not that you take advantage of that, but they might just wanna throw it at you, cause if you wanna buy one down the road, they want you to buy their brand, so. We'll definitely look into something like that too, for the future at least, before you consider buying one.
So, Russ, did you ever look at all into, like Dave's, Twardowski's outfit down there?
So that road issue,
Yeah.
I've been down there multiple times.
Okay.
It's definitely something that can be done. I mean, it's right, but is it gonna take some time, effort and money?
Yeah.
Yes, it will. So, I was kinda waiting for somebody to say, just do it and be done, or don't do it and be done.
Right.
I
So
mean,
you'd actually have to go in and with, scrapers or make a road or blades or?
scrapers would, excuse me, scrapers would definitely be the best option. But there again, I had a talk with Craig here the other day about that road out there by Jerome Mossett that's been underwater.
Yeah.
The same thing, it's definitely something we can fix up and get back running, but we need dirt. And to operate a scraper,
Yeah.
if you're even a mile is too far for a scraper to run, basically. So in today's world, the dirt from the landowners has become
Valuable.
very valuable. Even if you explain you're gonna take the topsoil off, take the dirt and then put the topsoil back so you can farm it again, there's not many people willing to do that anymore, you know, so that forces you to start hauling dirt, and once you start hauling dirt with trucks, it gets very expensive very fast.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, if a guy can, and I have not reached out to like Larry, Greg has land there, I think Dave actually has some land right there too. You know, if we have the option to steal some dirt and try to work with them guys to make that work.
That's where you'd have to, make it feasible, right?
Right, you know,
So do we have to check, does Kim have to move their line and all that stuff?
possibly, yes. And the thing is, it just depends on,
How you do it?
right, are we gonna go in and make a road that's gonna conform to state specs? Or are we just gonna go in and put a road in there? I mean, there's two different ways it can be done, there really is. You can, Dave, I mean, other than Dave living down there by the river, the only other access to that stuff is for farming purposes, you know?
So
So,
then just a road might work too, huh? I mean,
Just on that short stretch, right? He's okay with the stuff up by Larry, the way it sounds, correct?
yes and no, but when you leave from Larry's farm to the west, if you're gonna be out there fixing it, you might as well fix what needs to be fixed, because you're gonna fix this spot, and then next year we're gonna be back in here
that's true too.
saying, there's another
How
spot.
long a stretch is it actually?
I think from Larry's to the west, it's gotta be,
How
thought he said
all of
a
them,
mile.
on,
I
huh?
thought he said a mile, yeah.
And then when you turn to the south,
Yeah, that's a mile.
so then you turn south there,
Here?
no, you go, the half one,
Yeah.
the black line, the first, no to the,
Oh.
no, that is, you're right,
It turns and
yes.
goes west, so that's
Yep.
half mile.
Oh, right
Okay.
there.
So right on that ravine there, that's where it's gonna need probably the most, that's the,
You're gonna need a bridge almost there, or a big culvert.
well, that was his,
Harrow.
Harrow culvert or whatever, the one that's where that all took place right there.
Oh,
so-
that's where that took place.
Yeah,
Jim, grab that from her.
It says-
you know, like I said, I mean, it's one of them deals again where it's definitely something we can do. I mean, do we wanna pursue it? Do we wanna move forward with it? And
Yeah, I don't.
it seems like it's been addressed a few times and it gets into the point of, I think Aaron can testify of moving a few power lines or something of the sort, right? And then it kinda comes to an halt.
That's always kind of where it seemed to land, is like once the other thing too was where people thought the road should get built versus where the actual section line was, and then how that related to the utilities. 'Cause,
So there's all kinds of.
I mean, the only other option, if I remember right from all the conversations, is if you didn't wanna make the utilities move, then you'd almost have to move the road off the section line, which again, like Russ said, if you're gonna buy easement on $3,000 to $7,000 an acre land, depending on what's there, like, I mean, it's just, it always kinda ended up being on a very expensive road, and then if you go in and just do a Band-Aid road, then, again, are you gonna even solve any problems? You're gonna maybe spend tens of thousands of dollars, and then you still have a road that doesn't work the way it's supposed to work, like, what do you do? Like, so that's where it always kinda came to the decision, I mean, and that's coming from like Wold Engineering, that's not just commissioners, like, every time we had them look at it, there was always, and then if I remember right, there might even been the issues with the section line itself, as far as like, just the alignment and how that lines up with how you build a road efficiently, and so, yeah,
There's issues.
it's just, yeah, it's not just an easy, go build a road or don't, it's whether or not you're gonna justify spending the kind of money, which my opinion of it always was, if you're gonna start building roads as a county like this, there needs to probably be some consideration for things like some specials, because what is enough of a justification to spend $100, $200, $300,000 more on a road? Like, if there's every landowner in on it, and I think one time Dave did bring several landowners in here, and I think that, you know, there is support to fix that, but who wouldn't support to fix a section line that's gonna go to your cropland or
Yeah, right.
your ranch land or your irrigation, and that's fine, but then at what point is it the county's responsibility, and what point is it the adjoining landowners? I mean, look at the city of Lytton and Hazel Lake, there's fees for all this stuff, like, everybody has to kind of, tax dollars doesn't just justify the building of roads everywhere, you have to come up with a process, and that's where it always kind of dies, because as soon as you bring up specials, all of a sudden, most of the adjoining landowners are fine with the road that's there, so I mean, again, it's not just a simple yes or no, and it's always, you know.
Well, you know a lot more history on it than I do.
Well, and it's been through several road superintendents, and that's the reason why even involving Russ, because it's not fair to be like, well, you can't build a road, and Russ is sitting there like, well, maybe you can, well, now that Russ has dug into it, he's like, oh my God, it's not that easy either, so it's kinda getting everybody on the same page to understand, like, where's the line on what's justifiable to build a mile and a half of road.
I can reach out to Wold, I'm assuming they still have documents of when they did things prior.
It's been worked over a couple times, I mean, like I said, I don't know how specific it is, but there's at least some baseline survey data and stuff you can probably at least
Probably
get.
good, Russ.
I'd imagine John or Mike or somebody that worked on it last will give you a pretty blunt opinion on what they think is gonna, they're usually pretty good about that. You can build a road anywhere, how much do you wanna spend?
Exactly, and I can reach out to, Dave as well and go out there and visit with him
Yeah,
and sit down and look at, you know, maybe there is an easier short-term solution that would make him happy. He's not a hard guy to really please,
No.
you know, he's
You
pretty,
just
but,
had a picture and he was always blocked.
yeah, Dave's great, he's never really been rude about it, but it's just a difficult decision, and it's hard to justify with just, like you said, one residence, maybe two, and And the other problem you're battling is you're battling a precedent from years before, where they used to build road anywhere just cause someone put a foundation up in the hills. And so now everybody's understanding is like, wow, if I do that, you gotta build a new road, and it's like, well, I don't know where that ever came about, and I don't know why it came about, and it probably shouldn't be like that, so that's where the,
You got burnt with the guys were saying they were gonna build, and they built the road, and they never followed through and put a home on the place, but they got a new road going in.
well, and the fairness about it is
Not a
every
good
time you build a road, you're taking my money and Dan's money and
Yeah.
Jim's, so is that a road we want to spend money on? I'm not saying Dave's cause is
Not
wrong,
important. Yep.
but it's just, what are the specifications that we need as a board to go, yes, we're gonna go ahead and build 2 miles of road, other than just someone asking for it? That's where that county has always fallen short. We don't have any real, like,
Yeah,
it needs to check like 7 boxes before we can defend it to the public at breakfast, why you spent $1 million to build a road, I mean, or whatever it costs.
Right.
That's all I'm saying, probably needs to be a better discussion, rather than whether or not Dave's right or wrong, or we like Dave or we don't, that's got nothing to do with it. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Go take a look at it.
I was gonna say, I can go out there and like I said, get with them and try to maybe find a happy medium or something to where it doesn't cost a bunch of money, if that's okay with you guys.
You do well to seek out Old, just because I think they have a lot of information that even just, I'm not remembering, and these guys aren't familiar with it.
Yeah.
They found things out there that made it difficult to build a road, you'd be wise to check them out.
They looked into this.
Yes,
Okay.
there is.
Yeah, that'd be good,
Talk
Rob.
to Mike.
Okay,
Okay, anything else, Russ?
nope,
Okay, thanks, Gary.
see you guys.
We're gonna skip the zoning board deal, I'm gonna go to Brady Adams. I think, are you Brady Adams, sir?
I am, yeah.
He's scheduled for 11:30.
Okay, I have one person called in here on waiting here.
Somebody called in,
Yeah,
and that is,
what was her name again, sir? I put you on the speaker here.
as long as it gets.
Can you say that again?
Mitch Calvin.
Okay, and then also, I didn't want to conference while you guys were talking.
Hello, Mitch.
Linda is on,
Is this all intertied to intermodal?
Yeah, Mitch works for
and
us. He's
Linda is
our
on my cell phone.
Okay. Now,
Linda, yeah, she's still in.
Brady Adams just stepped up here to the mic. So who wants to speak first here? How do you guys wanna do this?
I'm here to answer questions or present the two, there's conditional use permit, and building permit that, was presented back, I believe, in August 1st. And we've been discussing this, and discussed this with Joe, discussed this with you, Dan, and, I came here to answer questions, if you have any questions for us about the building permit.
Anybody have questions? Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, no worries.
First of all, you're coming from where? I'm gonna ask the first question. You're coming in with your plastic lines that you're placing, your conduit.
Right.
From where? Because Linda, is that her name? When she approached us in August, she couldn't really clearly tell us where it was coming from and where it was ending.
Yeah, this
We
segment.
had a packet, which I have in my
Yeah,
folder.
there's broken segments, the network is broken into segments. The first segment we completed last year was across Montana, Forsyth to the Idaho border, effectively. And what IIG is, my company, Intermountain Infrastructure Group, is a wholesale internet provider that also provides residential services as well, and business services. Broadband expansion. The thing that's different about us and what we're going about this kind of backward from what the local providers here and you would find in a residential market is they build infrastructure to get to homes.
Can you pull the mic up to you?
Yeah, they get infrastructure to build to homes, right? Their capital, their money goes to, excuse me, to build from the street to the home. And they build local communities. They interconnect with companies like AT&T, for example. Lumen is another, Sprint is another. They're basically the only ones that have interconnectivity to get you to the true internet, which is in Chicago and Seattle and Los Angeles and Denver and those kind of places. So IIG, the reason we named our company this is there's a deficit of fiber infrastructure, broadband infrastructure in the Pacific Northwest and through the upper Midwest that connects to major cities that provides core internet access. So even the local companies here provide service in Linton, and I'm not familiar, I'm sorry, but not familiar exactly who's here. Whether it's a wireless provider or a wireline provider, they're connecting to a larger company to gain access to the internet. So what we did was we funded our infrastructure build to build the backbone first. So we're building Minneapolis, we'll connect to Denver, we'll connect to Billings and every major market in between, Spokane, Quincy, Cheyenne, Wyoming, those kind of areas. So we're building the backbone infrastructure first, and we sell to companies that are currently buying from AT&T or Sprint or one of the major corporations. We're a small company, privately funded, with the purpose of just doing that, providing infrastructure, backbone infrastructure to connect the internet more broadly to remote areas like Linton. So when we bring our product into market, it reduces the amount of expense, reduces the cost. We sell our services lower than AT&T, you can imagine. And it's a better connection. It's a true connection all the way to the core internet, which is, the internet is where content resides, right? Whether that's a confluence where a lot of carriers come together in Chicago or Denver or somewhere like that. Spokane is actually a pretty big hub. We're also building into Calgary as well. So our goal is to build the core infrastructure first, and we will service all of the constituents in all markets. We don't come in and compete day one with the local service providers, so we're not here to displace any current local service providers in any given market. We're here to help them at first, right? Secondarily, it could be we could compete. If the county comes out with a bid for internet services for the courthouse and your fire stations, those kind of things, we'll for sure bid on that. And we may win, we may not. But we also, that's the part where our relationships with the local providers get somewhat strained, because we come in day one and they love us, and then later on they end up competing with us on some level. And we have good relationships with most local service providers, and they say, hey, this is our business, leave it alone, and we will. But in government, education, hospitality, hotels, motels, hospitals, public institutions, those kind of things is really where we focus, and we'll service those if we win the bid, right? Usually those are competitive bid processes. So the infrastructure you're asking, why does it come through here? Every 60 miles or so, when we build this infrastructure, we have to do something called regeneration or amplification of the signals. This is no different than the local service providers. When they set a box on the side of the road, you'll see these little cabinets, metal cabinets, where they connect all of everything goes from digital to optical or optical to digital transmissions, those kind of things. Ours is just a little bit bigger. These are what's going in here on the Silver Nagels property is 2 shelters that will house electronic components to amplify the signals, both going east and west. As you send light or optical communications down a line, every so often it has to be amplified. And, Emmons County is a pretty big county, so we had to place one here in Emmons County somewhere. And we've worked a lease out with the Silver Nagels, a long-term 30-year lease for the property. We were instructed, we usually, regardless of whether or not a building permit is required, we want to be a good partner. So we come to the county, we ask for a building permit. We were instructed that we needed a conditional use permit. So we submitted both of those back in August. Where we've been since then is there's been some questions. Dan, you had some questions. Spoke with Joe. We're just here to try to figure out what we need to do, what questions we can answer to get approval from you guys to place the shelters. The shelters also provide for a place to break into the infrastructure, right? So any service provider, I would use that as a launching point for internet services. No towers, we don't do anything wireless. There's no towers, it's actually excluded from this. I can't put a tower up on this property. But what I would do is use that as an interconnect point and then service anything local in Linton. So we try to locate those pretty close to town.
And all your boxes out there within the state right away.
Yes,
and your risers, you know, your little verticals.
yeah, they're all.
That's just if you got a problem, you could go from point A to point B to point C.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct,
So you can pinpoint where it's at.
exactly. Yeah, that just happened this weekend over in Montana.
Okay.
But yeah, all of the infrastructure, fiber, conduit, in Emmons County is on the public right of way. This is the only exception where we need to put this facility, it's too large to put the public right of way. I mean, it requires some land to do that.
So what's the, I'm gonna ask you, maybe it's a stupid question, but I'm gonna
Sure.
ask you anyhow. What's the total cost when you hit Emmons County and when you leave Emmons County, within Emmons County, of your fiber put in, your cable, all, and your little buildings, all of it?
Yeah, the building itself, each of these are about $150,000. They're equipped with redundant air conditioning, heating, cooling. They're equipped with a backup generator, so they're able to withstand the power outages. The cost per foot varies. In Emmons County, it's about $26 to $28 a foot. So I'd have to do the math of what the total in Emmons County is in the state right of way, but it's probably gonna be close to 40 miles,
How much?
probably 40 miles, yeah.
Is that where it is coming through?
That's- Yeah, it's coming all the way through Emmons County. We come in the north side of Emmons County, and the northwestern side of Emmons County, we exit on the eastern border.
Did you knife through from Highway 13? Did you come through on 83 already? Or do you have to horizontally bore all of that?
Now I get the highways mixed up because I use mapping systems, but you may call them something different. We came in on Highway 13.
Yep.
We came down 1804.
Yep,
So we came down 1804 along the river,
yep,
and then we turned on Highway 13,
yep.
and then we exited on Highway 13.
Yeah, you gotta come down on 83, correct?
Mm-hmm.
To get to 13.
Yep.
So
just
how
a
do you
short-
get to that, those two corridors to connect 13 to 13? Do you horizontally bore all of that?
Depends. Most of, if there's any structures on the ground, roadways or anything like that, we're required to bore. So there's a lot of horizontal drilling. There's a lot of plowing, obviously, in the state right of way. But majority, I would say probably 90%, 90 to 95% of it is plowed, and the rest of it's boring. So that piece on 83 was
That isn't completed, is it?
not all of it, no. No, so they were working on this just this last fall, before the snow started. So we had pretty much stopped then. But there was a petition, I think, for the city of Linton, and it was agreed that where we were placed on 83 was in technically a Minnesota DOT or North Dakota DOT right of way. So it didn't require, franchise didn't require anything from the city. So it's everything that I see right now in front of me on 83 is all North Dakota DOT.
Well, rough figures on that is about $6,652,000.
That's the fiber area.
It's about $120,000 a mile. I don't know that.
Times 45?
Yeah,
120,000 a mile?
yeah, something like that, 120,000, $28 a foot. Do the math right, my head.
I don't know, maybe I didn't do it quite right. That's kind of what I come in
You tell you exactly.
Seems like that'd be around 6,000 in my head, but
How much?
Yeah, it's
couldn't catch a
5.4.
balloon until it's 9, so I don't know if I trust my.
You're close, yeah.
Gotta be in the
That's
ballpark.
close.
for. Million a mile.
Yeah, so we put in, as part of a requirement, part of our agreement with North Dakota DOT is that we put additional conduits in, so it shouldn't have to be done again. You know, so we're, in this area, I'm putting a total of, I guess technically there's a total of 11 conduits going in the ground. One of them is a multi-conduit, and then we have 2 other conduits. So there's lots of infrastructure for future demand. And that's kind of the agreement that we have.
That's a good plan, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you carved through all these states
Mm-hmm.
and state right away or county right away?
We do, yeah. And some of it, we have to have private easements sometimes to get around, you know, railroad or bridges or
Yep.
things like that.
Okay.
There's some, yeah, I don't think Mitch is on the phone, but I don't recall any private easements in Emmons County, but, you know, it's pretty typical that we'll have one or two to get around an obstacle or something. Yeah.
What is the decibel rating of that outfit that you're putting in?
The highest thing would be when the generator is running, and I think we're at 58 to 61.
How far away?
Standing right in front of them. They have level 2 dampers on them, they're pretty quiet. They cycle once a week. Usually we'll cycle them for, to be prepared, right? To make sure they're gonna run. We'll cycle them once a week for about 15 minutes, and then they'll only run when the power's out.
Usually through the day or through the evening?
Yeah, through the day usually. We can set it at any time, but.
Yeah, right. Is there lighting around that too, constantly, or at nighttime? Lighting.
Lighting, yeah, there's a door light, it's a down light, just on the.
You don't have lights way up in the air?
No. Just a door, a light on the door. And there's two shelters going in day one.
And your fuel tank would be diesel or propane?
Both these are diesel.
Okay.
Yeah.
1,000 gallon, 2,000, 5,000?
400 gallon tanks, 380 gallon tanks each.
Okay. So it's not gonna run very long?
No, our power outages are, what we've been recording anyway and I hopefully our data's right. Well, we have techs in the area that have the ability to transfer fuel as well.
Okay.
And then we have battery backup in the shelter as well. The battery backup will last, typically 8 to 10 hours. So there's batteries in there that keep everything stabilized. If we lose power, we don't, it gives it time for the generators to warm up.
You can't have a glitch in this, can you?
No.
None.
No, it goes out, right? And if you lose power, you just lose your transmission. Because all we do is transmission. We don't do any, there's no servers, there's no compute processing or anything. It's just broadband transmission. Yeah, so if it's constant, right? People don't stop scrolling just because it's midnight, but that has to be stabilized.
This is gonna be the backbone of data centers, is it not?
It can be, yeah. You look at it as a backbone of data centers. We definitely sell to them if they wanted to buy it, but mostly it's a backbone for wireless communication and local service providers is the primary purpose of it. You know, there's talk of some facilities going into Ellendale and other areas that we're not currently focused on, but you know, if they wanted to buy broadband, they would either go to AT&T or Lumen, or they'd come to us.
Starlink won't make this obsolete.
Starlink is our biggest customer, actually.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Starlink's one of our biggest customers. So the good thing about what we're doing and our plans that we started 20 years ago, the route from Chicago to Seattle does not have enough fiber. If you look at fiber maps of the U.S., you'd see the East Coast, everything east of the Mississippi is just inundated with fiber. You look at it on the West Coast, there's not much. There's really, west of the Mississippi, there's not a lot of fiber. So we're connecting, effectively we'll be connecting Chicago to Seattle. In that line, the latitude is perfect for Starlink, and they set their base stations close to our network, and then they connect to us for internet connectivity. And we backhaul them to Chicago and Denver and Cheyenne and Seattle, places like that. Yeah, they're a good partner of ours.
I'm gonna, just something I read, and I'm gonna bring it forth anyhow. I'm gonna ask you because it might sound stupid, but it's clear.
Sure.
Is this all intertied with this big major cable that's laid out in the oceans? Attaching to all these foreign countries that's laying in the ocean bed, laying from the east coast, coming around and then tying back in on the west coast. Is this all tied together?
No, we don't currently have anything. There's nothing organized from us and what they're doing across the oceans. A lot of the reasons they're building these oceanic cables now is because the early ones that are running out of lifespan, because they're having to rebuild them, and the capacities are gone. There's no more capacity on them. So they're doing that. It's an independent thing. It's a very similar concept though. They're connecting one large, piece of land to another. We're just doing it on a micro scale where we're connecting large cities to remote cities, like Lynn, for example. You know, that's a good example. Now, would they buy from us if they were trying to get their signals from Japan, let's say, to the West Coast, to Chicago? We hope they buy from us. We hope they buy capacity from us, but we're not affiliated with any of those in any way.
So is this part of the Q45 tax credit?
No, no public funding.
None,
We're all private, we're 100% private funded.
okay, okay,
I looked at that, but it was very,
complicated.
Not worth the effort.
60 cents on the dollar is what I calculated you'd be able to spend.
Okay,
Yeah. So if you took $1 million from them, you'd spend 600,000. So we avoided that.
Plus then you got about 10 pages of.
Exactly. That's where the cost comes in. You got to administrate all that. But not that we're opposed to it, you know.
No, I know.
Yeah, but in our early days, this is, you know, our first large project was just completed from Cheyenne, Wyoming to Quincy, Washington. And, you know, it's all, if you looked at Montana news, there's a lot of new providers that want BEAD funding and providing broadband to remote towns. All of them are customers of ours. All of those operators are customers of ours. And they were able to do that because we built that infrastructure. And not have to go pay tariff rates to AT&T broadband. We sold them more capacity for less, effectively. Or the Dollar General store broadband, I guess.
Who's got questions, anybody?
How would you categorize this building? Like what is it?
It's a prefabricated, 12 by 36 building. It has a stone veneer, so it has like a pea gravel veneer on it.
Okay.
And you would categorize it as a prefabricated utility shelter, is what it's technically called.
How tall is it, sir?
9 feet.
Okay.
Sits on a concrete slab. It is removable at the end of 30 years in our contract with the landowner. You know, we have the right to either extend it at their approval, or if they ask us to remove it, we have to remove it and restore the ground.
How much energy does that use, say, per day?
So each of these have a 400 amp service, you know, so both of these are at a maximum capacity. Each building would be able to consume about 380 amps, and that's absolutely full.
Your statement you made that we're not competing like with Beck Telephone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but it may be.
There may be times when, you know, generally what we do if the county were to put out something or some large business were to come into town and they needed a more secure, more viable internet access. See, I can get them all the way to a major market without having to hand it off from the local telephone company to someone else.
Yeah.
And it would just, we'd work with them. Typically what we do is we let them know that we're bidding on it. And because we want good partners, because they're probably gonna be our customer too. And you don't go compete with the customer if you can keep from it. But they may sell our service because there may be a requirement, whether it's a security requirement or something they can't provide, and we can. We may sell it to them and let them sell it to the client. But generally we have rules of engagement where we're not getting sideways with anybody.
Okay.
And you go through the local, say, we'll just say co-op, to supply the local homes then?
We wouldn't do residential unless we were asked by the county or the city to do it.
Okay.
You know, so we don't currently provide residential service. We do in a handful of situations where someone, you know, has given us an easement and they say, I've got this ranch out here and nobody will come service me, can you give us service? We will. Okay. And we're capable of doing it, but it's just not something we market and sell generally phase two, if I come back in 2 years, we might do some residential in underserved areas, but, we wouldn't go ahead and just overbuild and compete with somebody. There's not a lot of profit in that.
I guess there's no profit.
Well, it's so subsidized now that it's hard to compete with subsidies.
Do you require any other permits other than like a county siting permit, like something with communications or like the Public Service Commission, since you're like a utility operator, or?
We are a registered CLEC in the state of North Dakota. So that's the only other, we have to have that to be in the public right of way. So we're registered, I forget the number of it right now, but we're a registered CLEC in the state of North Dakota. Have been for many years.
Where's your other generator set located? How far from here? Morton County?
Oh, the next region?
To the west would that be in Morton County?
Yeah, let me tell you exactly where it's at.
Elgin, I thought they said. Elgin, I thought they said, and then Lair or Menango.
Lair.
That's to the that's to the east, to the west would be Elgin, is it?
Lair to the east, just south of Bismarck is the one to the west. Cause we're going straight from Bismarck.
Bismarck.
Yeah.
Burley.
Okay. That Elgin probably.
Then Fallon.
Then what?
Fallon.
Fallon,
Montana.
Montana?
No,
No. North Dakota.
Fallon.
just south of Bismarck.
South of Mandan.
Fallon, never heard of it. Fallon?
Yep.
Yep.
Never heard of it. Okay.
We try to get them in underserved areas, you know, when we design these, we have to put them every 60 miles, but we'll move them back and forth to try to get them close to somewhere like Linton or Fallon or a town that's, you know, conceivably underserved. Because the local telephone company is just getting robbed by AT&T when they buy internet service from them.
Have you secured any permits from any other counties in North Dakota?
Yeah, oh yeah. This goes all the way to Minneapolis, and this is the only one we haven't secured. Mitch, you got a list right now of the counties that we've received permits on? Handy? Some don't require.
These are the list of the counties that we received permits from North Dakota, yeah?
Yeah. It depends on, for the fiber or the shelters?
The shelters.
Oh, shelters.
Because for the fiber, you just went to DOT right away, right? So you
But some of it's county,
Some of it's
right
county?
away. Yeah. A good bit of it actually is in county right away.
I'm amazed, I'm just gonna say, I'm amazed you got that done in the state right of ways. And at the depth that they ever have to rebuild these roads. And that fiber, the way it's placed at what, 42 inches depth?
On average, yeah, sometimes a lot deeper.
And I know it's supposed to be back as close to the easement right of way, so say the boundary.
Yeah.
But I did see where they came down and I just, to cross a tough area and I just, holy crap. I know how tough the state can be with private individuals and that they granted that for a right of way.
Well, that's part of their charter, I mean, it's improving infrastructure for the state, right? And, that's one part of it. The second part of it is that if they expand the highway, we have to move it on at our cost. So, it's not a cost, there's no cost to the state for us to move our facilities, yeah. Now, some of the companies you talked about that have subsidies from the government, they have a different permit with the state. And the state has to pay for part of their relocation, but ours is not because we're a private, effectively we're a private company, and we don't take any state or federal money. So they gave us a different permit.
Okay.
They've been North Dakota's been really great to work with.
It's just Emmons County's been tough.
Well, I mean, it's understandable, it's something different. There's been not been many instances of a company doing what we do, the way we do it, and understand the questions. But why are you, how are you making money? We make money off of all the people that, are expanding this broadband initiative with your BEAD funding and all that. They have to have that internet traffic has to come from somewhere. And AT&T charges exorbitant rates. And we can still make money and charge a lot less. We just make money on the aggregate, kind of the wholesaler.
Who owns this company?
Myself and my partner and 2 or 3 investors that put in some money early on. Private companies. One of the companies' name is Post Road. They're a private bank. It's a family fund. They put in some money early on. The majority of it's owned by my partner and I.
What's the name of the bank?
Post Road. They invest a lot into fiber infrastructure companies. We call ourselves digital infrastructure. They have a whole portfolio of investments in digital infrastructure. Other fiber companies around the country.
Anybody have questions, guys?
Did you have that list of counties that approved it?
He didn't say nothing yet.